And welcome to your Giant Bombcast for Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021. I am Brad Shoemaker, joined by Jeff Gerstmann.
Hi.
Hello. Jason A. Stryker.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing well. How are you doing at Jan Ochoa?
This is my Bombcast? Holy smokes.
It's everyone's Bombcast. It's their bomb. It's yours. It's theirs. It's Danny O'Dwyer's.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you, my 4 Valentines.
Oh,
Here we are. Yes. Fresh off of Valentine's weekend. I trust we all got out and painted the town red, right? Everybody's just out there doing...
okay.
Off with their heads and the whole bit. Yeah.
Oh, that kind of red. Wow. Gee.
Yeah.
Here's a pro tip for since we're
Very
all still
romantic.
shelter in place and getting food takeout. Do not do takeout omakase, because omakase is supposed to be like a slow thing of getting one sushi piece for like 2 hours. If you get that and get it all at home, you just eat the whole thing in 5 minutes. So don't do that.
That's not so bad. It's not so bad. Maybe just get 2 next time, and then you can eat the second one in the next 5 minutes. I thought you were going to say that let's say, fishiness of the food was increasing at a rate that you were not comfortable with as it sat there.
I did have to jet home fast because I started smelling the sushi from the trunk.
Yeah, I cannot do takeout sushi because I just feel like more than like 90 seconds from the chef's knife. That's like, I don't know, man. This thing is fading rapidly. Yeah. Yes. You want it to be as fresh as humanly possible. What did everybody get up to?
This won't play on
Don't all answer at once. What?
Sorry, I got this won't play on the audio version, but my wife made an Age of Empires Valentine's Day card for me that says I will
dramatic reading.
It's pretty. I will love you.
Can you maybe give us a little context to?
Oh, wololo is that's the sound that the priests make when they're converting people. So it's kind of like a meme in the Age of Empires world that they go wololo. And we play a lot of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition was kind of like our quarantine survival game together. We played a lot of that on LAN in our house over quarantine. So yeah, keeps marriages together. Age of Empires.
Yeah. Yes, that was a heck of a deep cut for Valentine.
Yeah,
you might say she chose you.
It's got very much that energy. I feel like it's
yes, I can appreciate it for sure. Jeff, how was your weekend?
Everything got caught up in a shipping nightmare, and Friday afternoon was this sudden realization: was like, none of this stuff's going to show up on time. This is bad. This is a bad scene. This is a bad scene. So
that's not fun.
No.
I trust it worked out in the end.
Hey, we're all still here.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough.
Valentine's Day next week.
Yeah. Right.
We celebrate it all the time.
Valentine's Day, the sequel. Well, whatever. February 14th has come and gone. I think a far more important anniversary is now upon us. Jeff, I appreciate the weekly email where I said, hey, what's everybody been playing so we know what we can talk about? You just provided a link to 20 years of Zero Wing memes.
Yeah, this is Kate Willard posted this on Twitter. The 20th anniversary of the Newgrounds animation of all the original batch of Zero Wing, All Your Base Are Belong to Us photoshops, which kind of kicked off this was before that like Gabber Robots like song like that kind of I think became the popular version of this, but this blew up, and God, the All Your Base, this 2001, I guess that stuff was so everywhere in a way that few things had been on the internet at that point.
Like what was in this category at that time? Like Mahir,
Dancing Baby.
Yeah, sure, like the Ally McBeal Dancing Baby, but that kind of has its roots on television, so it's sort of, I mean, it almost doesn't count. But yeah, the Mahir, You Can Stay My Home stuff, the Hello My Future Girlfriend kid.
Okay. Yeah. The Star Wars kid?
Star Wars
Probably
Kid was later.
Time? Was that later?
No, Star Wars Kid was later. Maybe not much later, but Star Wars Kid was later.
Okay.
I had moved out by then, so that had to have been. Oh, that may have been That may have been in that same lane, but it was like this was the moment when all of those photoshops that everyone on Something Awful was doing then just broke out in a huge way. I think as Kate Willard pointed out, like Time Magazine was reporting on this within a couple of weeks, and Frank Provo was writing a FAQ about it, and all this other stuff. It just hard to. I mean, I don't know. Like it's hard to say like just how big this was for what the internet was then. Because I think like today, people burn through a meme in an hour.
The meme economy is too fast.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then it spreads to people who are already too late on it by the time they're starting in on it. And so you've just got those concentric circles of like, by the time you get out to circle 3, the people in circle 1 are looking at it going like, fucking whatever. We have 5 more since then. This was like a lasting, crazy, almost self-sustaining, like as more and more people found out about it, it just got like bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was bizarre. It just started, I think at some point we fucking, I don't know if we linked to the fact, I forget what it was, but at some point the GameSpot homepage said those words on it. And I don't remember in what context, but no one was immune. No one.
No.
It was everywhere.
Nor did we know what other far more destructive things Something Awful would go on to give birth to.
Oh God, yeah, right. I mean,
Oh.
Something Awful is
So truly Something Awful.
it's ground zero for just
Yes, dude, the lineage from that site too.
bad spin-off forums, shifty
yes.
discords.
Right.
There's a whole. It's a mess.
Right up,
Disgusting.
right up to the upending of modern society.
Sure. Yeah. I guess. Yes. At the
Quite
end of the day.
a legacy. Quite a
But hey,
legacy.
it's under new ownership now, so I'm sure
That's
everything
right.
will be fine.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes. Well, they seem to be far more transparent so far.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually? Oh, I'm sure you have because you play everything old. But like, is Zero Wing actually like a decent game? Is there
all
anything noteworthy at all about it?
No, not really. Not especially. I don't think so. There's a different. What is it? There's a So that was the Mega Drive version. The Japanese Mega Drive version was the one that was immortalized. But the game did come out for other platforms. I mean, it was originally in arcades.
I didn't know the Japanese version would have an English translation in it. That's
why it's so bad.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe I should double check because it might not be the Japanese version. It might be like there's a UK version that has that translation in it. Is that what it is? You know what? I'm not going to look. I'm not going to open those windows and check right now.
Fine. That's fine.
But yeah, so Zeroing, it was an arcade game. It came to PC Engine on CD, but none of those quite had what you wanted out of it at that point. But yeah, what is it? It's one of those Toaplan shooters like Truxton and just there's like a variety of shooters that company made. I'm gonna look up a list of them now. Hellfire, like there was a good run that they had of shooters that people really liked. Apparently they also made Snow Bros. I did not know. Oh yeah, Snow Bros.
Snows before. No.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. That will not be the title of this episode.
Damn it. Yeah.
Tempting though it may be.
Yes. No. Chad is saying it is the UK version of Zero Wing that has that English translation in it. So okay. So that's right because yes the Japanese version then eventually got like translated by someone else who said like that's not really. I mean here's what it's supposed to kind of say. But yeah, it's like Zero Wing always struck me as a very average shooter in an era when there were a zillion of those types of shooters, and I would rather play, an Arrow Flash or something along those lines. Certainly a Gaiaris,
a Thunder Force.
Oh well, I mean, yeah. If you're gonna start at the top, I mean, Jesus Christ, of course, a goddamn Thunder Force 2 or 3. I mean, fuck,
Yes.
shit. Yes.
Yes.
Would you rather go lick the pavement or eat a meal, man?
Let me think about it.
All right, fair enough.
Does 20 years seem like the kind of minimum cutoff to you for like, oh my god, I'm gonna die someday. You know what I mean? Like the wow, that was 20 years ago. Wow, that is a real gut check of wow, time has passed in a significant fashion. You know what I mean? Like 10 years, kind of whatever. Like 15 is getting up there, but 20 is 2 solid fucking decades.
Yeah.
Since a major milestone, and it's like, wow, this puts some things in perspective.
It puts things in perspective as to how different the internet was then. Like having this moment, grounding it and looking at it and thinking about like, man, it was all so simple once. And like it was also like, for as connected as the internet was compared to not having an internet, it was so much like more siloed and disconnected and stuff than it is today. I mean, that's just like pre-social media, right? It's not, it's not even necessarily 20 years ago. It's like when you didn't have timelines full of bullshit heading your way on every device, when you didn't have, this was before even the T-Mobile Sidekick. God damn it. This was really hard to get the internet in your pants. And yeah, so I think it's a real crazy. It's not necessarily the 20 years. It's just literally like how different things were then. Because when I think about like 10 years ago, we were kind of doing this. It's not like were things different? Yes. Was YouTube in a different place? Sure. Was streaming culture not really quite a thing yet? Like kind of, but it was a very different world in that sense. But I do think there's like a pre-social media, post-social media, like a pre. I guess I would say Twitter really, because Facebook and MySpace were based around you making friends with people and making that connection before you saw their bullshit. Whereas like Twitter you can just kind of retweet shit into people's faces.
Twitter is very much bullshit. Twitter is very much bullshit forward, I find.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's what makes it good, right? But there's I think that's one of those big dividing lines for the internet, right? You probably go back. I'm trying to think like what would even be before that. There's like AOL gets onto the internet. There's like Mozilla begins to like the World Wide Web, graphical internet starts to exist. Like there are like those sorts of milestones. I feel like looking back on it now that it's been over a decade of Twitter, like that's a big dividing line for, I think, society in a weird way, especially these days when you look at like the last even 6 months of how Twitter has dominated headlines and the role it's played in various things. Of course, Facebook, obviously a huge part in a lot of that fucking horse shit as well, but there's something different about Twitter. Like I said, you don't have to make friends per se. Just follow people.
It's the most antisocial.
Follow me. In conclusion, follow me on Twitter.
Yes, do that. Sorry.
What's that new one that all the boomers are going on with the? It's just like
Clubhouse.
phone calls.
Fucking Clubhouse, man! Holy shit! So
what is it?
Clubhouse.
It is.
Are you in the club?
No.
Yeah. Well, so it's like you want in? I got like 11 invites. If you want on Clubhouse, I can hook
Should
you
not
up.
have brought this up.
So, fucking Clubhouse. It's like a podcast platform for people that are too lazy or dumb to just start a fucking podcast. For people that are too non-committal to start a podcast. It's like audio chat rooms. It's like you go start a room, and if you're a moderator, you choose who gets to speak and who doesn't, and people can raise their hand and stuff. So it's like that. It's like the like podcasts for people that are like not technical enough to understand what an MP3 is. And then it's also, remember Turntable FM?
Yep.
Oh God, yeah.
Sure. It's that for people talking. It's that for people's failed TED Talks.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like people get into a room and like, I'm the moderator of this room and I got some speakers here. And sometimes those speakers are like, like big deal famous people because they're trying to do like a show. And sometimes it's just like, hey, we're shooting the shit. And it's like, there's kind of a neat thing to it because you can just kind of join these things and just listen in on some of these conversations. But I feel like a lot of the conversations I have like jumped into about games have been people saying like, let's talk about the video game industry. And it's like people that are so disconnected from the reality of the video game industry kind of presenting themselves as like, I'm the expert here talking about the video game industry. And I just like listen to it for like 10 minutes and go like, fuck, what the, like if people are joining this and thinking like, oh, that's really good advice, like they're all fucked. So then I take that and go like, well, now all the people that are in these other rooms that are like, hey man, real estate tips, or hey man, let's get into like any other topic. And so it's like there's a section, there's a segment of like real estate channels and rooms that pop up. But let's see let's go. Let me go open up this thing and see what's what's
Clubhouse
on right now.
11:30 a.m. on a Tuesday.
It's 143 people in a channel about NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, which is a cryptocurrency thing.
Of course.
107 people in a channel called live streaming and live concerts. Are they frenemies?
Oh fuck.
Which that's let's see here. Instagram marketing secrets. Instagram secrets. Real estate coffee cafe. How did you get started? So it's like a lot of people just like having these drop-in chats with people, and like on its face, it's like whatever. It's fine. I think it was just this. You need to remember as they let more and more people on this platform, especially, it is just anyone can start a channel and say anything about themselves and who they are, and present themselves as like, I'm the authority on this thing. But really, it's just here's 8 people doing whatever. The one cool thing that I've been finding is that there's a budding and growing hip hop community on there of like Joe Budden is on there, and Lord Sear from Shade 45, and yeah, Joe Biden's on there. Cool.
Supremo.
Yeah, no, Joe Biden, he's got crazy flows. Royce the 5'9" is on there. It's just like and so you'll have a room pop up that'll be like, who are the top 3 best rappers from the Bay Area? And you join, and it's like, here's like Just Blaze and all these like known names from like MC Hammer is on there a bunch. But he's usually in the crypto rooms. I
want to go hang out on Clubhouse and listen to Just Blaze talk about how much he loves Yuzo Koshiro.
Yes, yeah,
that's
right.
One thing I would join Clubhouse to hear.
Yeah, so like there's like that element of it of just like, oh, this is actually like a fascinating, interesting conversation with like people who have like been around the block in hip hop and talking about this specific topic. But I feel like that's been the one thing. So it's like, it's part just like social, like, remember how well, I don't know if you remember it or not, but like, a lot of people started up regular Zoom calls, like their Friday night, let's have some drinks and get on, we'll get 100 people on this Zoom and we'll have fun and unwind because it's a pandemic. It's that.
Right.
But it's also someone saying, if you want to live like a millionaire, here are my success tips.
Yeah.
Grifters.
And it's, yes, exactly.
Sure.
So
Yes.
it seems like that, like and also it all started with all of these, as it's been this invite only thing for the longest time, it felt like it was just straight up Tech Bro Central, just like all
full
these
on just Valley Tech Bro. Like I was gonna, like, my sense of Clubhouse early on, and I haven't used it personally, but my sense of it was that it is a social media platform for the venture capitalists who put money behind it. Like that.
Yeah. Yes.
Seems like how it. Yeah. Seems like how it came about.
Totally. And it seems like they're like very into like, well, I can be somebody on this thing. Look at me. So it's like, it feels like it has that weird kind of cliquish thing going on as well, where it's a bunch of people who have written, and I did that when I first signed up. I fell into it. I was like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? Where like, it's a lot of people with the word founder in their bio, or entrepreneur,
or angel investor.
Yeah, okay. Totally. It's like a lot of people that are like at VC firms and CEOs and stuff. So it started with all of those people just getting into voice chats and talking shit about reporters and all this other fucking shit. And now that they're trying to widen it out more, I wonder if this thing will scale in a real way, because at some point, I think like once it tries to be all things to all people, it doesn't seem like it makes a ton of sense anymore. But like from the tech angle, I think it's kind of neat. And it's kind of neat. Like I keep looking at it, even though half the time when I look at it, I just go, fucking people, worst. But like from a tech perspective and all this other stuff, I think it's kind of cool.
Would Clubhouse be the perfect place for me to finally take on my side venture of becoming a fake internet priest?
Yes, that'd be a great place to start. I mean, it's a good place as any.
Okay.
What's your church? What's the
Just
Church
like
of
the
Internet, or
the Church of the Internet. I absolve people of their sins. I marry people. You know, I make them feel better. I'll read passages from the internet. I've thought about this
From the
multiple
internet.
times, and every time I pitch it to a friend or a family member, they say it's in very poor taste. Don't do it. You'll go straight to hell. But I think Clubhouse is a perfect place to open up my little internet church.
I think it's right now, especially like as it's kind of like become this hot-ish thing. Like there is probably money to be made. There's probably some grifts to run.
Yes. I thought, without having used it myself, I'm pretty confident in saying you could absolutely start a cult on Clubhouse.
Okay.
is there a way to make money on? Like, how do they make money?
Not currently. That's they get investors and they figure it out later, right? It's like let's get the audience to scale, and then we'll figure out once it's too big to fail, someone will buy it. Right? I mean,
Twitter's been doing that for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's neat in a weird way, but also, the worst part of any social network is that there's people on it, and now you get to hear them talk. So.
Does it have that fun sort of like weird, like early Xbox Live, like the Uno camera stuff where you kind of feel like you're like listening to something you shouldn't be listening to? Like, does it ever have those type of chat rooms? You're kind of like,
I think everyone doing it knows that they're putting on a show. So I think there's an element of just like, as you're creating this room, you're creating a public space that people can join. Okay. And so you might find, there's a few rooms you'll scroll through and it'll be like, here's 3 people in here. And you're like, oh, I wonder what they're talking about. But I never actually joined because I don't want to fuck their shit up. And be like, oh God, someone's listening to us or whatever.
it says your name,
I don't know.
So you can't,
it does. Yeah.
Okay.
And they very much try to be like, this is a space for real names. So use your real name.
Right.
But then they allow you to set a creator name, if you want to be listed as Royce the 5'9". I'm sorry, Royce the 5'9". Yeah, I don't know. It's
branding.
Yes. So it's like this ridiculous thing, and I am so. I first heard about it at some point last year when someone that we used to work with years ago kind of reached out after a while and said like, "Hey, you should check out this club." This was like probably about a year ago, and then I went and filled out. It was not even on the App Store. It was like a test flight thing. So like I had to like fill out a form saying like, "Hey, so and so sent me. You should let me try this thing out." And then like the next day, I got a follow up email from us that said like, "Hey, don't bother with that thing. It's full of douchebags." I was like, "Okay, cool, all right, good to know." And forgot about it until they opened it up more over the last few months here. So I don't know.
Yes, the amount of times that I've heard about.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, thanks. I will get right on that. The number of times I have heard about Clubhouse in the context of tech bros organizing harassment of reporters who report on their companies on that platform.
Oh, God.
Really paints a picture of it, frankly. Anyway.
Yeah, but like that's the thing is like they're growing past that. Like that's very much what it was. And it seemed like it was only that for a very long time. But now that like anyone who signs up gets like 7 invites, 10 invites, whatever, like it's quickly growing in size, but that you've still got situations. It seems like a platform for people who really want to hear what Elon Musk might say. Like at the end of the day, like right now, that's sort of what it seems like. Is like, you'll see like a room on there that says Elon Musk is here to talk, and you're like, oh, ooh, and then they'll be like that room will fill up, and you'll see like this is the Elon Musk overflow room where we can talk about, and it's just like why would you want to hear anything that dumb motherfucker? I mean, unless you're like clowning on it, like, So, it's that, right? It's at that size now where it's not just the founders and tech bros. It's like the people that now like have some weird form of worship for them. And then it's spreading out from there. So I think eventually it will right itself. But right now it's in a weird in-between spot where you're like, this seems gross. I'll send you some invites.
Okay. Good. Yeah, great. Sure. Wonderful.
It's a neat idea.
Excellent.
If you like tech stuff and see like there are things about it at the core of it, you go like, this is a good idea. There's something kind of cool about this. It's a shame that you launched it or when you've had so many months of it being perverted to this like tech bro nightmare But, like, now you've got to like find a way to dig out of this hole, or
Sounds
maybe
like
they
the
don't want
internet.
to. I don't even know. Yeah, totally. I
Cool
guess.
idea.
Yeah.
But then it's
Cool idea.
full of assholes.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into video games, should we just rip the Band-Aid off? Danny, we're getting a little bit of the scratchies from you again, unfortunately.
Yeah.
should we give it a live test?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
what
just
you-
like
what-
just a refresh of the browser.
Oh man! Well, if it keeps seeping in like this, then clearly I've become infected with some sort of it's the
No
darkness
organic
from
virus.
Valheim.
Infected by a
research.
Clubhouse
Sorry,
invite.
Yeah.
Should we move this to Clubhouse real quick then, or
Yeah, probably.
Sounds like sure,
Yeah, I'll send you all
let's-
invites. I'll get you guys some invites, and we can.
All right, everybody, cross your fingers.
do
Okay.
you have to be invited to Clubhouse to watch a Clubhouse? Or
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is it one of those phone-only things, like kind of like Instagram, like the experience on a computer is like thin to non-existent?
Yes, I think, and it is only iOS. Like, it is still this
Oh.
is this invite only thing and all this other stuff. Like, it is
Weird.
still very, very limited. I don't think there's a desktop experience at all.
All right, Danny, let's hear you.
I'm still a dirty robot.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Great,
Sadly,
so
Okay.
sorry,
One.
Brian.
he's given us a single finger.
Oh,
Brace ourselves.
usually ask for more, but
Okay, I'm just gonna hit send on this.
oh, great,
man.
thanks. I don't have iOS.
Yeah, well,
You're clean. Oh,
I know.
good.
Brad.
Look at that.
yeah,
Could
yeah.
I
Have fun with that,
fool?
Brad.
Oh, wow. That sent 2 different text messages.
Jeff, would you say the Clubhouse is the perfect way to start my own MLM scheme?
I think it's definitely like if you could like start a room and be on there a bunch and present yourself as some sort of like guru.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, you could eventually start plugging a website and figuring out how to spin that into dollars or something. Yeah, there's definitely, I think there's an opportunity there to really rip some people.
Not that I'm saying I will.
There's so many cryptocurrency rooms. I'm sure someone is already.
Oh, man.
Like last week there was a bunch of rooms about. The week before there was a bunch of rooms about like GameStop stock stuff.
Yes.
So.
Great. Lord Punch in the chat had a great idea a few minutes ago. Somebody wrote in last week asking where the next Bioshock should be set. It should be set on Clubhouse.
Sure. Yeah.
Where better?
What if every character was Andrew Ryan
Oh boy.
That's Clubhouse.
instead of just
Oh,
one?
goodness.
There you go. There you go. All right, Danny.
How you doing?
Oh
shit.
no.
So is there? So what do you? Do you have any kind
Let's
of
figure
driver
this out.
settings? That might do it. I was gonna say if you have driver settings where you can set a buffer size, if you set the buffer bigger, that should do it.
We talking
Where-
ASIO here?
Yeah, like a ASIO drivers or but I don't.
You
Yeah, I
said
don't know
this
where
is
that
a-
would live
This
because
is
I
a
don't know
new
what.
computer, a new setup, Danny.
It shouldn't. Not since last week.
Oh, okay, not since last week. Okay.
Give me a sec. Do we have like 1 minute, 2 minutes?
We have all the minutes.
Yeah, of course.
Oh no!
That's
Okay,
frustrating.
I'm gonna bring him.
Okay.
You walked away and it
down.
continued going. It was like, oh boy! Live shot of Danny's studio, home studio.
Mhm.
Shit, I want to talk about Bowser's Fury, but I know Danny's been playing a bunch of it, and I hate to exclude him from. Let's see, what else was on the list before we get into that? How about? Well, I think he's also been Guilty Gear Strive. Let's talk about. There we go.
Oh, game
While
time.
Danny works on his stuff.
Game
Yeah,
time.
there's a beta going on right now. We got some early access to that. People that have pre-ordered the game will be able to get in, I think, tomorrow or something like that. Regardless, they're doing it in waves and or like slots. So I had to like wait up until like 2 a.m. last night just to play it. So I'm a little tired today. Regardless, it's a full-fledged ass beta. Like they've got 13 out of the 15 characters available for you. In ranked and online modes. They've got local 2-player. They've got training room available. They don't have any mission modes or anything, any combo tutorials, but they do have the regular overarching kind of tutorial. This game is gorgeous.
Another Arc Sys
I
special.
literally, yeah, they're really doing some really fantastic visual stuff to this, even more than they have with like Dragon Ball or even the last Guilty Gear. It's so dang pretty. Visual treat for sure. What they're doing with the systems, I don't really have a grasp of as of yet. They're changing some things where you can't like chain like light attack into like medium attack or something like that. They're also putting like a throw. It's no longer just like forward and dust, or no, it's not forward and heavy slash. It's now forward and back or dust, and there's like a throw whiff. It was sorely needed. I'm glad that they finally have that. They're not doubling down, but they're still going forward with that really wonky matchmaking lobby system. Where
it wouldn't be an Arc Sys game if they weren't.
With the little chibi avatars.
Chibi people running around setting up fights.
It's not cheap. Well, they're like little. I don't know. They're pixelated dudes for sure. But you run around to they're various levels essentially. So you're on I'm on floor 4 right now, and you go up to people in the visual space or the virtual space, and you challenge them. You bring out your weapon, as it were, and challenge them. And there's not a traditional lobby go into a room where you just have your name slotted in there and you wait your turn like that. It's kind of a free for all. You go into the middle of this. You move your character to the middle of this room. You take out your weapon and wait for people to come in and challenge you. It's obtuse, I think, and I'm not a fan of it. But
you just want to hit a button and say "Hey, join."
Totally,
right?
Totally, yeah. And I haven't seen anything where you can actually queue up with friends or anything like that. I hope that there's going to be something like that. I haven't been able to play any online as of yet. I've been through the lobbies and whatnot, but nobody was playing at 2 a.m. last night. They were all afraid.
What is up? What is up? Are we talking straight up server queues? You tried to get in and it was just wait your turn, or did they straight up assign you the time slot of 2 a.m.?
It's up from 2. It was up from 2 to 6 a.m. and then from it'll be up from noon to 2 or
7 or something.
Yeah. So they're just taking it down a few times over the course of the day.
Okay,
it's weird.
Man, they crank those games out. Holy. What is this?
They really do, but
basically an annual Arc Sys release for the last 4 years straight or something.
But this one seems to have a much more on hand kind of. This isn't something that they're just churning out. This seems like
they all seem great.
I
don't see any complaints about it. But it's last year was Grand Blue, right? And then was Dragon Ball the year before that, or was there a Guild?
That was 2 years.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball was a couple years ago.
Feels like there's always a new Arc Sys game on the way, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, they've been doing good work. It's been pretty crazy. I'm really impressed with just how they're pushing the fighting game genre, and them in particular. I think right now, whether it be with new iterations of online play. They're doing rollback netcode with this one, and just pushing new systems into their engines, and it's cool, man. Fighting games have come a long way. I remember just sitting there last night, just thinking just how much they've evolved since Street Fighter 2, and it's mind blowing sometimes, but I love it. Really excited for this.
Really is a wildly good looking game. I'm not even the biggest fighting game guy, but I would play some of that just to see it.
How many characters can you play as so far in this little beta?
So they've announced that there's going to be 15. They've revealed 14, but they've got actually 13 available for you to play.
Oh wow!
in this beta. Yeah. Normally it's just like a handful of characters, but they really
here's 3. Yeah, that's
Yep.
neat.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, I downloaded it and I was like, maybe they lied about the server downtime. I'm gonna launch it and just see, or at least see if I can like get into a tutorial, even if the servers are down. And no, it won't let you do anything at all.
It won't.
So I woke up too late.
That's right.
Oh man,
Danny just moved the old mic out of frame. I'm bracing myself.
We can't even hear you, dude.
You might need to rejoin the call to change microphones.
Yeah.
Oh, he did. I read his lips.
Maybe you can just interpret for us for the rest of the show.
He's nodding his head.
Is Bowser Fury good?
Bowser's Fury is pretty good.
I'm asking Danny. Oh, he left. Danny's frozen. He's deciding
smiling,
if Bowser's Fury is any
See,
good.
I'm just channeling his feelings on the game, which I'm confident are that it is quite good. Oh, we just get into it. We played some of that on the Friday stream. I finished it over the weekend. Oh, he's back.
I hear some clickety clackety.
Oh, you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
hey.
Okay. Big and boomy.
We're sounding clean.
Oh, am I sounding too loud? Let me do
No.
this.
We
Sound
sound good. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna talk about Bowser's Fury.
That's right.
Great.
Talk about Bowser's Fury.
Oh,
That's my new sync clap. Okay.
Oh, great.
there you go.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully this doesn't. If this drifts again, I'll peace out and I'll come back next week. All right. Sorry for the hassle, gents.
Sorry, man.
No worries. Yeah.
Bowser. Yeah. What do you make of it? I'm really
It's
enjoying the Bowser's
interesting.
Fury part.
Yeah.
I'm not mad on the old 3D world stuff, but
So I
Fury's
haven't
cool.
even touched 3D World yet. I mean, did you play it back in the day? Did anybody play that? Like, I feel like 3D World is like the most
tiny
underappreciated
bit.
Mario
Yeah, I
game
bounced
probably
off.
ever.
Yeah, I bounced off really fast, and I went back to play it again. I think it's good if you have friends to play with, but like,
Totally.
yeah, but like every game is like even bad games
Sure.
are fun if you have.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I never warmed to it anyway. But Bowser's Fury is
Yeah.
great.
It's so interesting.
GiantBomb.com's Patrick Klepek gave it a 5-star review and said Nintendo has knocked it out of the park once again, making its latest platformer a must-play.
From what I remember of it, it takes a little bit of time to get going. Like, you need to get a couple worlds in to really start seeing some of the wild ideas in there. But like, it's that latter-day style of Mario game where it feels like every single damn level you get to has something new to it. You know, like they're constantly coming up with like weird little one-off mechanics and like wild music all over the place. Like, it's super varied and inventive. Like, it's a really top shelf Mario game. But yeah, Bowser's Fury is like a weird experiment for them.
Yeah.
It's like probably the closest thing to an open world Mario game they've ever made, which is like, it's strange. Like, I really enjoyed playing through it. I finished it, quote unquote. I mean, there are 100 shines, which are the stars. I mean, I guess shines is actually an existing Mario thing, right?
No,
Now that I
no,
think
sorry.
about it.
No, there was a game they were going to do that did that, but it got canceled.
They
because
canceled it at the
apparently
last
it was
minute.
terrible.
It was not up to their
Something
standard of
happened to
quality. So they
Yeah.
canceled
Shine,
it.
get more like shine, get the fuck out.
Got him.
Well, these are cat shines. It's totally different. Completely
Oh, okay.
not the same thing.
You've heard of monkey shines. Well, now they're. I don't know.
So it's such a. Did anybody else finish it? Has anybody else seen credits in that game?
Not yet.
No.
Like 4 or
It's-
5 hours in, maybe.
It's this unusual. So that's like, you're probably getting close. How many shines do you
Right.
have?
Like 30 something, maybe.
Okay, yeah. I beat it at 50. There are 100 total on the map,
Okay.
and I quote unquote beat it at 50. But I'm not sure if you could actually beat it faster than that, because the way it works is you're bopping around to these different islands. It's like one giant lake map, and the levels are self-contained little kind of islands spread around. So like at the micro level, the islands are basically self-contained Mario levels. Like, that's kind of the one way it doesn't feel truly open world, is that like any one of these islands could just be sliced out and made a Mario level, and it would be very kind of familiar and traditional.
Mhm.
But on basically like a timer, this fucking black sludge kaiju looking version of Bowser just like shows up and starts destroying everything. And effectively, so basically there are two ways to do damage to this Bowser. He has a persistent health bar that starts at the beginning of the game at full, and like every time you chip off of it, that damage is like permanent basically. And so every X number of shines you get, like you get to kind of power up into like a giant kaiju Mario and like kind of fight him for real and do some damage to him. But also every time you pick up a shine while he is out and rampaging, you will also like chip some health off that bar. So I didn't really clue into that second technique until like kind of back third of the game or whatever, but I'm guessing if you whittled his health bar down really fast by just making sure you grab a shine every time he shows up, like you might actually be able to beat the game faster than I did. I don't know. It's a really weird format.
Is there a set cadence to how often he turns up? Because it felt like after a while I'd be like, oh, I think he's going to turn up sometime around now, so I should get close to the bell, whatever that thing's called.
Yeah,
where you turn into the sort of Dragon Ball version of Mario.
Yeah, I mean, they don't expose a timer or anything. It definitely feels like the later in the game, the faster he shows up. Like there were times when he would come back. Yeah, like I would dispense with him and he would be back like 30 seconds later. Like it's a really weird thing.
Is that annoying? It seems like
at times, yes.
Yeah, like oh, I'm trying to do a thing, and oh, fucking Bowser showed up, and this is like frustrating in a way that's not like, oh my god, it doesn't necessarily. It just feels like more frustrating than cool. I don't know.
Yeah, like because I mean, he really messes with you while you're out. Like he's dropping fire from the sky all over the place. Like some of those fireballs that drop make like giant platforms that pop out of the earth, and those get in your way. He's got like this kind of heat breath thing,
but they also like help you at times as well. I've actually had them be a benefit.
So as much as like there are definitely times when you kind of roll your eyes when he shows up because you're like, man, I'm in the middle of like this tricky platforming right now. Like get the fuck out of here. Just let me do this. I don't want to deal with you. Like you also start finding ways to kind of use it to your benefit. Like that. As much as that is annoying every time Bowser shows up, like that is also the most open worldy kind of like emergent quality in the game because like it does add some weird twists to the stuff you're doing. It's like, oh, I was doing this weird, platforming challenge with all these rotating things, and all of a sudden now Bowser is here shooting fireballs at me at the same time. Like it's got this weird kind of dynamic quality to it that you really don't get out of a Mario typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked how some of the later level, unlocks you might get, like the dinosaur you sort of ride around on the water. You can go back to earlier levels and use that to access different areas and stuff like that. Like it's fun. I find it a bit confusing the way you have to keep going back to the bells though, right? Like they keep getting recovered in the gook or something.
Yeah, the lighthouses.
Yeah, the lighthouses, sorry.
I looked at that as it seems like each one of those islands, each one of those levels will have like a set number of shines in it, and the lighthouse just has 5 holes on it. The same way when you would jump in a painting in Mario 64, it's got the star outlines. Like that just seemed like that was a in-world representation of that. But I haven't played it. That's just from watching Brad.
I think the sludge prevents you from going to the top of the lighthouse, but that doesn't do much for you other than just giving you kind of a bird's eye view of everything, which can be helpful because like that,
there's
again,
up there.
Yeah, kind of. Well, yeah, there's a power up there.
They give you tips as well. There's text tips.
They're like
the lighthouse has a tip for you. It is handy to have like a kind of really elevated view of things because it is kind of an open world where you are sort of spotting like, oh, that's where that hidden shine was. I couldn't see it from ground level, but now,
And you can kind of eyeball Bowser and see if he's getting ready to emerge too, right?
Yeah. So like every time you kind of quote unquote kill him, he kind of submerges in the middle of the lake, and then you will slowly see his giant shell kind of rising back up out of the muck, and then he starts glowing right before he launches, and then that's how you know he's coming again. But I guess the other really interesting thing about it is you straight up have an inventory. Like you basically can just bank 5 of each power up, and it's not the hardest game, so you're basically rolling around with like a full stock of each power up all the time, which is like weird by Mario standards to just flip between suits at will and kind of like combo them off of each other almost. It's like oh shit, I missed that jump. I'm down here like right above this lava now. I'm just gonna pop the cat suit on long enough to like crawl up this wall and get up over the lip, and then put the fire flower suit back on, stuff like that.
It's like someone took the Mario 3 map screen inventory and put it into the Mario World in-game inventory.
Totally. And again, like most of the island levels again are pretty straightforward. Like you're mostly going to go through them the way that they want you to. But like there are spots where you can kind of come at things from weird angles and like, use suits in weird unconventional ways to kind of circumvent some of the design. Like it's cool. It feels like halfway to where they could get with an idea like this. Like it's not this full on like bottom up reinvention the way that like Breath of the Wild was for Zelda or something, but it kind of, you start seeing possibilities for where they could take something like that. I don't know.
would have
It's-
preferred.
Do the 2-player stuff? Because Bowser Jr. is kind of like hanging with you this whole time too, right?
No, but I left his assist mode on, the AI, just because I
Hmm.
thought it was really funny to just see him like wrecking shit for you. Like if you even at like, I mean, I think the levels of assist are like a little bit, a lot, or whatever. That's how they describe it in the options. But even on a little bit, like he's constantly running around killing enemies for you and grabbing power ups, and
Mhm.
like he'll fight bosses for you. Like he
Yeah.
kind of will do everything. It's like just funny to watch him go ham on stuff like that. Yeah, it is a weird thing because like I got to the point where I was finding shines and like in a lot of cases doing what I needed to expose the shine, like completing the task or whatever, and then not actually touching it and like kind of running around in circles for another minute or two until Bowser showed up, so I could actually grab it while he was out just to make him go away immediately and put some damage on him. Like it's a weird little meta game to the way the loop works in that thing. It's a strange format, but it's kind of cool.
Does it seem like do you like it enough to where you like, man, I hope the next Mario is like a riff on this or an expansion of this?
Yes.
Or
Yes, absolutely. But again, like the spaces between the little self-contained level island things are just sort of flat water, and there's like the little dinosaur that you can hop on. Like the dinosaur spawns everywhere you go, so like you're never more than like 5 seconds away from hopping on, and he's just like a speedboat, so you can just kind of haul ass between those levels. But there's not that much to do in between.
There's
for the
like a
most part,
couple
like-
random shines that.
Yeah,
you
there
can-
occasionally.
yeah.
Like a rabbit will spawn occasionally, and you can kind of chase that across the water
Mm.
to get a shine here and there. There's like a couple obstacle courses you can do on the dinosaur. Like there's some stuff there, but it's still overall it still feels very compartmentalized with those little pockets of like intense level design, and then sort of a lot of stretches in between of not much.
I would have
but-
liked if there's like with like the level segments that if you were to fall off like a ledge that there was like some quick warp back to where you were or some checkpoint versus having to run through the whole thing to get back there, or like some type of like fail state, I guess, like if you fall too far.
I saw 1 or 2 islands that had like a green pipe that if you went in at the top would spawn one at the bottom.
Yeah, yes, they're
But then you
full
can
on
later-
Yes,
yeah.
they're totally a bunch of shortcuts you can unlock to just like it's like I'm just gonna get right back to the top of this level again because I've already gotten there once.
so it's Dark Souls then.
I know there's a little bit of that.
Got it.
A little bit of that. Yeah. Again, it's not like by no means like going full bore in the direction of like rebuilding Mario from the ground up or anything like that. It's more kind of it's 3D world mechanics and suits and all that movement, all that stuff kind of bolted onto this slightly different format. But like, it does make you think like, what if they built a game the size of Breath of the Wild, but a Mario game, and you could actually run across the entire Mushroom Kingdom from end to end, and like they put little pockets of weird Mario shit all over the place to discover. Like that
Ew.
would be kind of cool.
Only if he has a jetpack.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It does sort of
actually-
expose that, like the fact that Mario is like a lot of fun in these smaller areas, but he has a problem when it comes to traversing. Like they're very early on, they're telling you about like make sure you hit the button to run. Like you're going to have to traverse wider areas than maybe you're used to in a Mario game.
I think
What
that
if,
would be the problem with that full open world Mario game, right? Is
Yeah.
making the spaces between the really tight, intense Mario stuff interesting and not just empty.
That's kind of the Gears 5 problem in a weird way. Is like
Right.
Gears 5 had this kind of vibe of like it's this pseudo open world thing, but then it was just like, oh, get in a vehicle and drive to the next Gears of War level, and then you'll crouch and crawl under a thing to hide a load, and when you come out on the other end, it's a Gears of War level. Like the Halo Reach thing, only with fewer visible load screens. Because I was just about to say, like, oh, they should give Mario some kind of go-kart that he can use to drive from one part of the world to another. And I was like, oh, right, that's basically what the fucking Gears 5 was. But yeah, I don't know.
Mario.
Like,
If Mario just had a horse,
what if Mario
Yoshi.
had a horse?
Yeah.
give Mario a horse.
No,
a real
a
horse.
horse. I don't know. I think what if they integrated all the things that like a true open world Mario game? What if they actually unified all the fucking shit Mario does? Where it's like, okay, now I'm going to get into a Mario Kart and I'm going to fucking drive to this next area and throw banana peels and do all this other stuff. And then, whoops, there's a tennis court here. The same way Odyssey had like jumping rope or whatever. Like, what if you got there and you like, I'm going to play some tennis and I got a shine
there's
for
a
being good at
hospital
tennis,
here.
or, you know.
I have to be
Right?
a
Yes,
doctor for a while.
yes, exactly. I've got to prescribe all these pills. I've got to referee this boxing match. There's just a lot of like if they actually really leaned into a Mario world
It's like that Flash game we played, like that Super Mario, like persistent open world where like Mario had every single thing from every game previous. Like he had Flood, he had like the butt stomp, the triple jump. It was like a huge world, and he had a health bar. Would Mario have a health bar in an open world Mario game?
I mean, Mario 64 technically. I mean, you have
Sure.
hearts, but it's it's just it might as well be a health bar.
I kind of want it. I kind of
Does
want
Mario have a skill tree?
You start with like, and then you're just like at some point you're just making like a Metroidvania, but with Mario instead of Samus, right? You're like, oh, you unlock the triple jump, and now you can get up to this area. Like you got missiles, and now you can open the red doors. Like, actually, they should do that. Yeah, give Mario missiles and let him open the red door. Let him open the doors.
Sure, why not? Yeah, like
let Mario open the doors.
Like giving you that inventory in this game kind of feels like it is moving in that direction, of just like, here is the Mario toolbox. Like you've got the Tanuki suit and the fireballs and all that stuff, the cat suit, and you can just kind of switch between like some sort of like dynamic problem solving in a Mario game. It's just like, take the Mario toolbox and figure it out. Like that. What
if you had to
awesome.
spec in a direction though? So you could spec in the direction of fireballs or
plumbing,
Hammer Brothers or Tanuki suit.
I'm a Cappy main.
Yeah.
Go all in on baseball.
It's a pet class, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, how do you guys feel about where the like 3D Mario games are at? Like, I feel like the consensus on Odyssey was like, it was quite good, but it's sort of, they've done Odyssey, a lot of those games.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Odyssey and felt like, man, I think I don't, if they just made this game with new levels and put it out 3 years later or whatever, if the sequel to this is just this but with different levels, I don't know that I would be, I don't know how, I would not be super jazzed on that, even for as much as I did like the format and the design of Odyssey. I don't know, I think it would be cool to see a larger rethink of like what Mario could be in a modern like context, but also I don't know that Bowser's Fury is really it either. Like I look at it and go like, this is neat. Like it's neat as an experiment, like as a thought experiment of just like, what if we did this to Mario? Like I look at it and go like, oh, that's cool. But I think either you have to go all, like it doesn't necessarily, it's not the sort of thing that when I look at it, and granted I haven't played it, I don't necessarily look at it and think like, oh, this is definitely the direction. It's like, it could be a direction, but it seems like there would be so much more they would need to do to get those ideas fleshed out that I could see that going wrong if they didn't do it right. But,
I mean, this feels like a foot in that direction when they need to go the rest of the mile to fully get there, the way that, again, the way that Breath of the Wild was just a like top to bottom rethink of Zelda, right? Like trying to get back to the roots of what Zelda is.
It's weird. It's almost, I wonder how this came about. Like I'd have to look and see if they've talked about that. Like how did they come up with Bowser's Fury? Why did they do it? How much of it is an experimental thing that I mean, you have to imagine they're looking at it and going like, if people really resonate with this, then maybe we'll go further in this direction. Otherwise, we know how to make Mario games. We can keep making those. It's fine. But I just wonder how interested they are in looking at that and using that to inform what they do next, or if this is just like we took a team and just spent some time fucking around because it's like an add-on for a game that no one played anyway.
I mean that's how it feels. I mean, there's straight up like a section in the credits that basically credits the original work of 3D World because they used all of it in this. This is just this is more like an expansion pack. Like it's not all the way there, but it is a step in that direction.
Yeah, it's curious. Like it feels very tentative, like a very tentative step from them. I feel like when it comes to their core franchises, especially, they are like, here's what we're doing. And it's this, it's either a building off of the thing they've already done, or in the case of like Odyssey, I think that was a fairly bold new step. Breath of the Wild obviously is a pretty bold redesign for what Zelda can be. This feels like it's something in between that, where it's this very tentative, like, what do you think? Which is not what I'm used to seeing out of Nintendo's core franchises. Usually it feels like they're like, this is the thing, man, and you're gonna love it, and then it's either really great or it's Mario Sunshine and you get really pissed.
I mean, yeah. If nothing else, good on them for doing some actual work on one of these Wii U ports and not just charging $60 for the game again.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, especially weirdly, like you'd think a Mario port is the one that would sell the most easily without anything added to it, but yet, they did work here that they did not do on like Pikmin or most of these other ports they have done. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And then you beat Bowser once and they basically dump you right back in the world. And it's like, now you can just warp between each island, go get the rest of the shines. We'll mark all of the remaining shines on the map for you, so there's no question about where they are. And like at that point, warping between levels really does drive home how much the islands are just self-contained levels, because literally at the touch of a button, you just spawn at the beginning of one. You can just run through it as if it's just its own thing. So it is cool, though. I really hope we see more in this direction from that franchise, because like I don't know what else I want out of the next Mario game other than something new,
Right. Yeah. Like it doesn't, like I think I was about to say, what if they made Galaxy 3? But also like, they made Galaxy 1 and 2. Those are great games. They're still great games. Like,
do you ever wonder if it's that generational thing where we've just been playing a lot of Mario games for a long time, but the new, like, younger people who've been playing these games aren't quite as burned out on some of these ideas, so they're not feeling that need to change just so much?
Sure, I could see them very much doing a follow-up to Odyssey and maybe integrating some of these more open worldy ideas into parts of it or all of it or something, but I could see them very much doing like, the hat powers are fun, let's do more of that. And I wouldn't, whatever. I would not kick that game out of bed. That's
okay.
That sounds like it'd be a good time.
How is this running for you, Brad? I guess
it's a little chunky.
Yeah, I had that too. It was the first time I've had a game, like a first-party Nintendo game, that I was like, and I was playing in my handheld, so
yeah,
I was even more surprised.
Was a little...
Oh, it actually runs at 30 frames a second handheld. Like it's kind of a stark contrast. It tries to run at 60 on the TV.
Okay,
in docked mode. Yes, it is absolutely limited to 30 in the handheld. Like even docked though, like especially when Bowser shows up and there's shit flying everywhere, like it really can bog down pretty significantly. Like this was probably the most I've had the experience with a first party game where I was like, man, maybe that new model of Switch is actually due now. They're pushing this thing pretty hard.
Yeah, the opening level in this was the worst, weirdly, because there was hardly any map exposed at that stage. But yeah, I've had it dropping under 30 a lot. So
yeah, yes, it can bog for sure. Yeah, it's cool though. It's a neat thing. Is Valheim a neat thing? I'm not sure what to make of that.
Am I the only one who's played it so far?
I'm going to play it now. I feel like I finally turned the corner this morning of seeing people that we know, especially people I don't think of as people who are like way into crafting and survival games, who are way into this. And I'm like, all right, fine.
It looks ugly. And I know it's an early access. But it just does not look nice.
I think it looks really good in motion. Okay, this is am I infected by robot demons at the moment? My voice, or are we?
No, you're good.
No, you're all good.
Okay, I'm good. Okay, so yeah, I've played like a bunch of it, maybe like 6 hours now, and it's early access. It's like $20. It's a survival craft game, like on the surface of it. I think it's set in Norse mythos. You can play a multiplayer. I've been playing it single player, and it's fun. But I guess the setup for it is kind of unique, where it's based around these kind of like boss fights that you summon. So you basically build your house, you build your crafting table, all that sort of stuff. You get into the world, you find recipes by killing things and picking up items. You can make those things at your house. There is a dynamic system when it comes to weather and night and cold, so you are rested if you're in a house. If you have a fire, the rain will make it go out, but if you put it in a house with no ventilation, you'll get smoked in. It's weirdly like systems based and simulation based in a way that a lot of those games I feel like maybe aren't, but it's the setup of it is really cool, where you have this altar. I guess there's probably 6 of them maybe in total, where you have to summon a boss, but I guess you have to decide when you're ready to summon the boss. So you're trying to get like better clothes and weapons and all that sort of stuff, and then when you summon a boss, it straight up like appears in the world. And I had it like fighting my house, like it was attacking my house when I wasn't attacking it, presumably because it was like well, I'll fuck your shit up if you're going to keep cheesing from me and hiding from me. But it's kind of, I guess, based on these boss fights. And then there's also like very distinct biomes, which apparently get pretty crazy, where you can like go further into the woods and you end up in a darker forest, and there's mountains and there's all these types of things. But the combat has like a parry system and is timing based in a sort of a Soulsborne light type way. And it's really engaging. Like the combat is fun. In most of these games, I feel like the combat is kind of, I've not played much Rust, so maybe that's where this kind of happens. But I feel like a lot of these games, it's fairly like you're just farming stuff. You know, it's all about like accruing lots of things. Then this feels a lot more like interesting and dynamic and like trying to figure out what I need. And then like, earlier today I was playing and I got caught by a bunch of skeletons who killed me, and I had to do basically a corpse run. But I died like in a little shed and they were right there. So I couldn't get them because I was like naked and had no equipment. So I had to build like a second camp and build up all my stuff and like strategize to get the bow so I could then go and kill them. And then while that happened, there was like a procedural event where a bunch of these weird little sort of like forest pixies decided to attack my home base. So I couldn't go back there. So it's like, I think the reason people are finding it interesting is that on the surface level, when you start playing it, it looks like a fairly rudimentary crafting survival game, but it just has these like layers, both in the gameplay and also in the wider simulation, that create these interesting like emergent moments. And the further you go into it, you know, you're actually uncovering more biomes and more enemies. It's not like a lot of these games where where you kind of see a lot of that stuff up front. I'm thinking of games like The Forest and things like that, where like there's a certain level of depth to it, but it's like associated with difficulty, whereas this is kind of like you're understanding this world the more you explore it. It's really neat. Like, granted, 6 hours in, but it looks like it's, you know, taking over the streaming world at the moment, at least.
Yeah, I wrote it off because, like, traditionally people have not loved when we stream games like that because nobody wants to watch us, like, try to figure out how to build a workbench for 30 minutes or whatever. But something about this seems like it is really elevating it above, like, just one of those.
It seems like they cleaned up some of the, I mean, between the combat and some of the other systems around it, it seems like it's like, here's a somewhat more approachable take on some of those other, like, very busted ass early access games. I mean, a lot of them have come a long way since those busted ass days, but, you know, Rust is still like largely impenetrable, I think. So the idea of someone going like, hey, why don't we do some things that evoke that, but hey, the combat's good. That sounds at least a little bit appealing.
How dangerous are the enemies? Like when you talk about bosses spawning or the pixie, like can they actually dismantle all the stuff you've built? Like is all of your work like constantly in danger of being destroyed, or do they like protect some of that stuff?
I think they do a good job of like getting you into the combat early, because the early mobs that you meet are very easy to kill. Like you don't need to be blocking or doing anything. So the sort of wood pixies and a lot of it is killing like boars and stuff for food, because you have to kill stuff and
boars. You say.
Lots of boars, lots of lizard things. You eat their tails.
Actually, like I've seen some people. Sorry to interrupt. I've seen some people compare it to feeling like World of Warcraft. Actually, like since you mentioned like killing a lot of boars and wizards, like I'd see people talk about in terms of discovering different lands and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of like, when you walk into the new, like you go into Duskwood for the first time, it's kind of like the Black Forest in this.
Right?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, aesthetically, it's got a cartoony look to it, but it has a lot of like really nice post-processing effects. Like the lighting is dynamic and really cool, and it has this odd like tilt shift focus thing where wherever your cursor is pointed is in focus, but editing past that has like a very like crazy like depth of field going on, which is it gives it that sort of like dreamlike quality. I think it's a lot of fun to, maybe it doesn't come across when you're watching other people play, but as a like, you know, speaking as a camera op as well, maybe it's fun to like pull focus that way with the camera, and I think it makes it look really smooth. And as a result as well, unlike games like Rust, I don't feel like this is like loading your CPU much, because the simulation stuff seems to get a little bit hectic, but it never, you know, it's early access, so it bogs in frame rate every now and again, but it runs, it feels like it runs really cleanly. And yeah, all that sort of stuff, like you're killing boars, it's like ruined pelt, like you're collecting pelts and bringing them back and making stuff out of them. And it has like a very orchestral sort of soundtrack to it, so it's not unlike, you know, killing Defias Brotherhood mobs in the Elwyn Forest or whatever.
You got to quit with this. You're like,
yeah, am I pulling the right?
all this like walking into Duskwood for the first time. Like on some level, all I have been doing since 2003 when I got into the WoW beta was chasing the feeling of playing WoW for the first time again, and like nothing has ever truly replicated that. But I will always keep trying. So shit.
It's interesting. I think I'm not mad into the survival craft. I've played those games and enjoyed them in the past. I really liked Minecraft survival mode. But this is doing something. It feels like one of those games it's doing some new things that are small, and it's also doing a lot of things like really well, like just across the board. Like the combat's fun, exploration's fun, the crafting is mysterious in that you have to figure stuff out, but it's not. I haven't gone to a wiki once, which I don't know when the last time I played a new crafting game and didn't have to do that. And I can't say anything about the multiplayer. You can play it, I think up to 8, maybe more, on servers. But I've been playing solo and it's been a lot of fun. I don't know, the later biomes, maybe it gets trickier or something, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, I see a bunch of people I know talking about running like private servers for their friends and stuff. There's a SKU on Steam, or there's a separate product you download that is just Valheim dedicated server, which is close to my heart. I start messing around with that myself. Yeah, you've sold me. Like I'm not the biggest on the crafting survival. So like Jeff said, like Rust is kind of still to this day. Like, what the fuck do you do with this game? But it sounds like they made that style of game into an actual game with this.
And also, like parts of this, when you talk about the different biomes and summoning bosses and stuff, like a lot of that sounds very Terraria-like as well. Like there's definitely an element of like, okay, this boss is now like flying over my home and causing a bunch of shit. Like there's that aspect as well. So I wonder if they're pulling from that as well.
It's interesting.
That's
I
cool.
think when you start, it feels more rudimentary than it feels more early access. I think for the first 2 hours maybe than it does once you actually start. Once you have your house and you've like figured out all that sort of stuff. I think the one tip I would tell people is like if you're building, because you need like your workbench and stuff has to be in a house. And I went down a rabbit hole of like trying to build a house, but there's like abandoned houses in the world. You can just straight up put all your stuff in there and then like repair it and it works just as fine. So maybe there are pinch points that other people would get stuck in a bunch. I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out how to craft anything and I hadn't made the hammer. So, I'm the dumbass there, but so maybe there's a lot of that player onboarding. The early access will smooth out once they get some of that data, back from players and feedback. But yeah, and it's $20. I feel like a game that has this much content in early access is $20 is always sort of a good, I've already gotten my value out of it probably, and will continue playing it.
Is there any kind of like matchmaking out of the box? I mean, if you just fire it up and want to play with people immediately, is there just a go button that will match you with people? And do you like take items and stuff between servers? Like, how does all that online stuff work?
I don't believe so. I think the maps are. I don't know about saves. The maps are seeded, so you can share because it's procedurally generated as well. The worlds are, as you could probably have assumed. But you can share those, and I think you can turn any. You can turn it to multiplayer or not. I believe the map that you are in at any one time, but from what I saw, I do not believe there is any like matchmaking in it. I think it's all friends list stuff.
I thought I saw someone in the chat say that it uses the Steam server browser.
Oh,
so you may just be able to like list public servers that way and join. Cool. So, but I don't know. That's just something I saw in the chat.
Server browser, another thing that's close to my heart.
Yeah, there you go. Dedicated servers, server browsers, listen ports,
right.
All this.
It's 1999 again.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
and
they have a server renting thing as well as a G portal, so you can rent a dedicated server if you want to run one off your own. Yeah,
I saw that stuff. So, I mean, this is just like the biggest thing on Twitch right now, right? Like, isn't that all anybody's streaming?
Yeah, it looks like it. Which again, that gave me more trepidation than anything else. That like, it's the hot new ticket. But it genuinely is good fun. Yeah, I think it's a lot of these survival games. They're slow burns, and you're doing a lot of farming, I guess, like in a lot of these games, right? And I haven't had that experience, or at least the experience of going out and farming, because of the sort of like, it feels like there's more going on under the hood simulation wise than I sort of realize. Cause like sometimes when storms will happen, there's like crazy waves and stuff. And I was like, well, I built a boat earlier. Like I wonder what that's, or like the wind was blowing a certain direction and rain started getting in my house through a weird hole and hitting my fire for the first time. And I was like, oh, I thought I put the fire in a good spot. So it looks, the sort of stripped back aesthetics, I wonder if it's actually like making me assume that it's a bit more rudimentary under the hood than it is. But it means that every time I'm playing it, at least again, it's 6 hours, so it's not a lot of time, but it feels like like the possibility space seems bigger. Like it seems like maybe I don't know everything that's going to happen. And a lot of survival craft games feel like they're very much about making sure that you know exactly what's going to happen all the time, so you feel like you're in control. This kind of has a good balance of like every time I leave the house, it feels like a bit of an expedition. Like I'm risking it, but I kind of know it's coming, but also some fucked up shit might happen, and it's fun, right? Because I got killed by the skeletons, and it took me 2 hours to resolve that whole problem, but it was fun. So I think that's a sign of a pretty cool game.
Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. I've got to check that out. Cool. Anybody got anything else before we go to break?
I've been playing a little Crimsonland on the PlayStation 5.
Right,
really getting into the hot
yes.
new technology. This PS5.
Yes, the hottest PlayStation 5 release.
I was very
Crimsonland.
surprised to see that there was a PS5 native version of Crimsonland. It was a free upgrade if you have the PS4 version, and it just looks like fucking Crimsonland. It has, the triggers. It uses the triggers on top of that. So they did some work, some PS5 specific work to it. But goddamn, it's Crimsonland. And
was that PS4 version already a remake, or was that just a port of the original?
It's a port of the original. But remember, the original was mouse and keyboard, so it was you kind of moving the mouse cursor around the screen to aim while moving with the keyboard. And so when they move that to a dual joystick shooter, it kind of changes it up a little bit. Because there was a power up in that game that would let you hover your cursor over an enemy to make it stop moving, or you could hover over a power up to pick it up, telekinesis. So they had to rework some of that stuff when they brought it to game pads or controllers, just in general, but consoles mainly, to get away from that and be like, oh, now telekinesis makes the closest power up move towards you slowly instead of you just being able to pick it up remotely, which to me is like not nearly as good. But so it's like slightly different, a slightly different game, I guess I would say, as a dual joystick shooter. But Crimsonland, it looks a little bit uglier every year as games look better. But I always loved Crimsonland, and this just makes me kind of want to just reinstall the PC version of Crimsonland and just play through it all again. It's just a good old shooter. Look for me on Good Old Shooters. It's a store I'm setting up. So it was funny to load that up and see that the trigger has some heft to it on the PS5. It's not. Does it ring up as like a PS5 product? Yes. Yeah. It has to be installed to the internal PS5 drive. I'm launching a PlayStation 5 game. What? It's the smallest. Weird. It's got to be one of the. It's, if not the smallest, one of the smallest PlayStation 5 games. I think it's like 200 megs or something. It's but yeah, as a owner of the PS4 version of that game, I was able to get that PS5 version for free. All right. And so there's something very funny and heartwarming about the idea of that game getting a new release in this day and age.
Yes. Giant Bombcast, your only source for the hottest 2021 next generation video games.
That's right. These next gen video games. Fucking A.
Yes, that's right. All right. Well, it's time to take a next generation break. Whatever that means. We'll be back in a minute with some news.
I pee in my pants now instead of in the toilet.
That's right.
We're beyond toilets now.
That's right. We'll see you in a minute.
These days it seems like you've got to make that tough choice. Do you want something good? Or do you want a fair price? Harry's means you do not have to choose. That's right, because Harry's gives you award-winning blades at factory direct prices. And for a limited time, Harry's is offering their starter set plus a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/bomb. Now, what is Harry's? We're talking razor blades for your face, for shaving. Harry's delivers a close, comfortable shave at a fair price. It's only about $2 per refill. And Harry's believes in quality so much that they bought their own factory in Germany so they could own every step of the manufacturing process. How do they do it? Well, they got a simple ergonomic design and 5 sharp blades. 5! A lot of blades. And they source their steel from Sweden and manufacture their blades in their world-class blade factory. As I would visit a blade factory. Harry's German factory, in fact, is one of the select few manufacturers in the world that have mastered the technology to create a Gothic arch, the gold standard for razor blade grinding. And there's a 100% quality guarantee. They stand behind the quality of these blades. And so if you're not satisfied, they've got a 100% money-back guarantee on harrys.com. And for a limited time, Harry's has an exclusive offer for listeners of this show. New customers can get a Harry's starter set and a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/bomb. Has over a $16 value for just $3. You get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, a travel cover, and a travel-sized body wash. Now that's an incredibly great deal. So act fast while supplies last. Go to harrys.com/bomb, that's HARRYS.com/bomb, to redeem your offer.
Six Days in Fallujah is probably the last possible game, if you'd asked me this time last week, that I would have guessed we would be starting this new segment with. Remember that?
No.
It's a Biden, man. The Joe Biden power. He just brought us back to 10 years
That's
ago.
right. Right back to 2009 again.
Turn the clock back.
That's right. Just
Oh,
Obama
geez.
years all over again. Yeah, if you... Yes? Go on.
No. I mean, we could talk for hours about the Obama years, but let's not.
Seemed like that facial expression was about to translate into something. Yeah, I mean, if you don't remember, 6 Days in Fallujah was a roughly 2009 era kind of modern day military shooter based on the infamous battle during the Second Iraq War that got canceled by Konami at the last minute. I don't know how much of it actually got made originally, but it
I don't
was
know if it
kind
was
of
quite last minute, but they had started promoting it, and of course people
Only
were like,
did
"Wait,
4 days.
yeah, they were at the day 4, and they got to the point where they're like, all right, this is the white phosphorus part. And they're like, wait, what? Hang on, and then they stopped.
Well, don't worry,
the last 2 days.
they're not touching on that anymore, so it'll be fine.
Fuck, dude, this is
weird.
this everything about this sounds like it came from way earlier than even 2009. This game coming back and these new interviews.
Yeah, it's for sure.
Yeah.
So this is the former CEO of Atomic Games, which was the studio that originally was working on the game. And I think after Konami dropped it, they tried shopping the game around. I think there was a time there where they were like really stuck to this idea that they were just like, no, we gotta tell this story. It was a different time, 2009, from what people were expecting from games, I think. But even then, they were still not able to find a publisher who would touch it.
I mean, Call of Duty 4 came out 2007, I think it was, and like that was pretty much the beginning of the modern wave of modern military, kind of set in the Middle East style military shooters. Like, Modern Warfare 2 was like only a year after this fiasco that we're talking about. Like, that was a bit later.
13 and 12 or something. Yeah.
The point is, though, we were like right in the middle of the heyday of this exact style of game, and even in that context, in that atmosphere, this game could not survive the public backlash.
Spec Ops: The Line was 2012, and for some reason, this game always reminds me of Full Spectrum Warrior in some way, which was 04. Different type of game, not that type of like modern first-person shooter type thing. Obviously,
do you remember the Medal of Honor remake or refresh?
Yes.
I guess because that was based on a real thing too, right?
At one, I don't remember. I mean, all I know is at one point there was like direct references to the Taliban, and they at some point changed the. It was one of those things where they went in late and changed all the multiplayer stuff to just say Op 4 instead of any kind of specific enemy forces, so that they couldn't have like news stories saying like a game lets you play as the Taliban and kill American troops and like all this other stuff, they kind of went like, oh fuck no, and backed away from that. And
Yeah,
but,
that was
like
the
Medal of
game with
Honor, they were
That was the Tier 1 Beards game, correct?
yes, that was the beard.
Yes.
That was the beard
Yes.
game.
Yes.
That was the game where the guy that was the lead of it did that Tom McShay confrontation at E3 or whatever, where he
Oh
went up
my
and put
God.
the bullet on the fucking table.
What?
Yeah. He did an
I
interview
don't
with him
remember this.
as well after that, right? They did like a
Yes, that was like part of the interview. I think was like we're taking this very seriously. About we want you to understand just how faithful, or whatever it was. It was just like this ridiculous. Like, dude, what? Like, okay, I get it. You grew the beard just like they did, but like, come on. Yeah, Medal of Honor. Yes, that was a. And then at the end of the day, Medal of Honor was just like, check it out. We wanted to find a way to like chip away at Call of Duty's success because Battlefield wasn't quite doing it. So we wanted to skew more in that direction.
Yes, that is all that was. So yeah, like you said, there does appear to be some kind of through line from the original incarnation of this game to now. Atomic Games was the developer of the original version, and the CEO of that company has now started Victura, which I'm not quite clear on the arrangement here, but that is basically the company behind this revival of the game, although they are not the developer. That is Highwire Games, which is Marty O'Donnell's studio, the Bungie composer.
Yeah, and they did Golem, right?
Golem. They did Golem, the PlayStation VR game, was their first game, and now they're doing this.
I'd wondered what Highwire was working on. Golem was originally supposed to be like PSVR launch, and then kind of got pushed past that, and
significantly past. Yeah.
So yeah, this Victura. Yeah, so it sounds like they, that Peter Tamty, the head of that publisher, has been, I guess, like pushing, like it sounds like that it's been something that he's wanted to make since then, and kind of never gave up on it, and is now back with Highwire doing the dev work to try to make this thing a reality, and it's bizarre. I think that this is just, it feels like someone got stuck on an idea that wasn't that great to begin with.
Yeah. And
like felt out of step with like times then. And as the years have gone on, you look at it and just go like, I don't like this. The interviews he's been giving, Games Industry Biz has one. Polygon was the big one that everyone's been talking about, where he is giving the classic game developer line of like, we don't, like they don't want the game to be a political message.
Yeah, man, he's really running the gamut.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're literally trying to talk like, this is a conflict where, oh God, I don't even know where to begin. On this.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, there are things we can say about it. I mean, some facts that he gave about the game, he is saying that it's going to be roughly 90% from the perspective of American soldiers involved in what was like a very fraught urban combat situation. The other 10%, like it's kind of, on some level, it's even weird to break this down into numerical percentages, but the other 10% will be from the perspective of an Iraqi civilian trying to get his family out of the city. They stressed that there would not be any kind of insurgent perspectives represented, but I don't know. I don't even know, like you said, I don't even know where to start with what is the major point of contention here, because there are so many.
Yeah. I think these interviews, like, he just comes across as like it's hard to tell. Like, is he seriously that oblivious, or is he actually that nefarious to try to make this the way that they seem to be trying to make it? Where it's like, like they're asking him about white phosphorus, which it was alleged that U.S. military used white phosphorus in this conflict, and the Polygon story says, like, again, Tamty isn't interested in litigating what constitutes a war crime.
Yeah,
and the quote here is, "There are things that divide us, including those really divisive things. I think distracts people from the human stories we can all identify with. I have two concerns with including phosphorus as a weapon. Number one is that it's not part of the stories that these guys told us, so I don't have an authentic factual basis on which to tell that. That's most important. Number
Weird.
two is I don't want
mention that.
Yeah, I don't want sensational types of things to distract from the parts of that experience. And so, like,
what could possibly be sensational about that particular moment in time?
Yeah, right. And
it's
so
wild.
it's this very bizarre. Like, I think a lot of the quotes kind of fall into that category of just like, hey, yes, this conflict is a mess, and there's a lot of stuff happening here that if you really told that story, you would be potentially illustrating war crimes, perpetrated by United States troops. And he's like, yeah, but that gets in the way of the human story. Like he's trying to root this game in a real world conflict. But no, and at this point, no one's talking about this anymore. This kind of came and went, like drudging this back up now to like bring the what happened in Fallujah back up to bubble around here, while also being like, yeah, but we don't want to engage with any of that because we're just trying to tell these stories, these very human stories. Like, you could tell those human stories against the backdrop of literally any other conflict, like imagined or otherwise, and still get that point across. Like, it doesn't have to be set in Fallujah. Like, you could very easily make your fucking like generic military shooter with like, we want to tell these stories. He's not the first person to come along and say that exact thing about a military shooter. And there's just no reason to try to set this against the backdrop of that conflict. And so like at some point you're like, did you just keep the name because you knew it would get you any kind of buzz that fucking like, what else are you going to call it? Like Noble Spear Operation Rogue Legacy, whatever the fuck string of military words you're going to slap together. And so like the amount of just like song and dance he does by like, oh, again, we're really not trying to engage with any of this controversy. Like, you called the game this, you're trying to set it in this conflict. You're trying to ground it in some kind of reality. Like you did this to yourself, man. And he keeps giving these interviews that you're just like, I don't, it's just, it's bizarre. And then you get into some other stuff where he has been part of a company that has worked on training simulators for the military, and then has to say like, well, the government didn't know about this game ahead of time. They didn't find out until we announced it. And, they're not funding the game, all this other stuff. And you just go like, you have muddied the water in so many different directions that you just like, he just comes off like a clown. Like, every developer, plenty of, Ubisoft says it every 6 months, right? They get out there and say like, oh, we're not trying to really say anything political with our game about hacking and fighting against a PMC that's overtaken London. We're not trying to say anything political, but like everyone does that. Everyone has done that. They'll continue to do it. But he is like taking it to some like insane next level here, where he is trying to have it both ways. And it's just this, like, it's so out of step with reality of right now. You just like, did this guy just like go live in a hole for the last 10 years and not follow anything that happened with video games? And now he's just like, well, we're going to come back out and tell this story. It's got a real 15 years ago kind of vibe to it. 12 years ago kind of vibe to it. 09, whatever.
He reeks of one of those executives that never gets told no. Like he's on a mission to do this. Like clearly he has skin in the game in some way. Like he's passionate about the experiences of the people they've interviewed or something. But it's like, who is calling for this? Who wants this? Like I don't like, in the world of the internet, who's even going in 2021? Who's going to bat for this game? Like, who wants this? It's so strange. I don't, like you said, it's taken the whole keep politics out of games to a sort of a post-parody level that it's even hard to talk about it. It's even difficult to want to talk about it because it's so ridiculous and in bad taste.
Yeah. It just makes me understand, like, not able to understand what they're even going for here, because like, I guess there, I don't know that I would think that this is a good idea, but like, there's a way to do this game and tell this story and say like, hey, this was a fucked up scenario. We're going to try to be as true to it as possible. But here he is day one, as they're re-announcing the game, like part and parcel going, nah, we're not going to touch any of that stuff.
Yeah, we're not going to.
We're the way of the story we're trying to tell.
Yes, we're not going to explore any of the questions about how justifiable the conflict was in the first place. We're just,
Yeah, that would just bog down the human story we're trying to tell. I think again, you could root those human stories could take place on fucking Mars, just as well, right? Those human stories could take place against the backdrop of any generic made up conflict. Call of Duty has been doing it in different ways for years that brush up against reality, but get far enough away from it that you can at least go like, yeah, I guess war movies do this all the time. And he tries to invoke that and saying like, well, television and movies get to evoke the Iraq War, and I think that really people just don't like that war. I guess like no, there's some specific stuff to this 6 days that might be a little fucking different than the whole conflict, but it's man, holy shit! It's again, it's just it is so far removed. Like just reading his quotes, reading these quotes from multiple interviews and looking at this stuff, it's just so far removed from like reality. You just look at it and go like, this is like some kind of hilarious joke, or like at the other end of it, you're just like, or you're like acting in bad faith and you're like deliberately trying to not engage with this stuff for some other reason. And then you get into conspiracy territory, which I don't know that whatever. I don't know what to think about that, but like, it just seems like such a profoundly bad idea. Like I feel bad for Highwire. Like that's a talented veteran team in a lot of places. But now they're making a game that feels like it's the sequel to Blackwater. It's like, we took the Kinect support out of Blackwater and now you can play it. Like it's just, what the fucking fuck? How did anyone die? Yeah, maybe you're right. He's just not used to hearing someone say no, but holy shit, no. Don't fucking do this. It's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the one new wrinkle about this since 2009, I mean, not that making the game itself is any more advisable now than it was then, but like the thing that's changed now is that, like, as far as I can tell, the Iraq War in general has never been less popular with the entirety of the American public, Like, at least at that time, well, like, most of the people that were engaged in, like, kind of the Bush era, like, rah-rah jingoism of that time have just spent the last 5 years largely pivoting to like isolationism, and even they think that the Iraq War was a bad idea now. It's like we're not living in that shadow of 9/11 anymore, where a huge chunk of the public was like thirsty for this kind of thing. Like, and now I think like everybody has come around to the reality that this was fucked. Like, I don't know, why do they think this is somehow now the time to do this?
Yeah, and there's something insidious specifically about the time distance as well. Whereas, like, you can make a piece of art around something that's happened recently while you're sort of caught up in it in a certain way, or there's a snapshot that is relevant to when it is taken. But there's something like very sickly about the sort of historical whitewashing that this does when you are that selective about the story you want to tell about something which, the American public has largely probably forgotten about, but for the, like the Iraq War, but like people in parts of the world where these imperialist wars were fought are still feeling it to this day, to then sort of be like, we want to tell this story about it. It's like, and to be in that position of power. So it's almost worse given the time, because you've had time to think about it and for it to sort of settle. Which I think is why people are sort of mostly shocked by it. Angered, of course, but just taken aback that this is something that anyone would want to make in this fashion.
It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't see what the goal is here. It's, and I think, there's people in the chat are saying like, oh, well, army recruiting is at an all-time low. This isn't going to, like, what is this isn't going to do? Like if anything, you're bringing up this stuff that, hey, you Google Fallujah, you're not finding stuff that's just like, let's get in there and whoop some ass. But, you're finding all of that stuff and going like, holy shit. I'm like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have been over there in the first place. Hang on. So this doesn't seem like something that is just going to fucking help on that front either. It like, even as a piece of propaganda, like, who's out there talking about Fallujah enough to where they would go like, we got to put out a video game that's going to help bury the bad stuff. Like, it's done. It's in the past enough. People are still pissed about it, but not in a way that like, we've got to act on this information. They're not trying to prosecute anyone. they're not like, right. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see, like, if you were trying to like actively change the way people thought about this conflict, like to what end? Like, what does that actually accomplish? Right?
Yeah, who's this for? Who's it for?
Yeah.
Like, even who's it for?
Nobody is asking for this.
Yeah, it's wild.
Even if you were trying to like really actually, let's go all the way on the other side of it. Like, let's say this was, hey, the U.S. government is like the Department of Defense is trying to make this happen, or hey, we want to get recruitment up or something like this. Like, this doesn't seem like the way to accomplish that either.
No, you've got your commercials on UFC fights and probably in Call of Duty there's some sort of stuff. I don't know. That seems like
called
maybe
Call of
more
Duty.
effectively. It's just Call of Duty. Yeah. America's Army is now Call of Duty. Yeah.
It's just bizarre, man.
Dude, does this game come out?
I was looking for some indication of like where the money is coming from, like who is funding this, but I don't think that information is really out there. So I don't know.
It's early too. Like, this could be them getting out there to try and get that money.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, this Polygon story has a couple of what look like either screenshots or maybe sort of cinematic mock-ups of what the game might look like, and it's not clear. But yeah, I don't think there's much of a game to show yet.
They're saying it'll be out this year, so there's got to be something to it. But like, some of these quotes are just like from, again, Peter Tamte, who's the head of the publisher here. Here's another one from the Polygon interview. And the only thing I fear is that fundamentally, when we cut through everything, people's objection here to 6 Days of Fallujah is more of an objection to the Iraq War. We've made games about other wars and real stories from other wars that have not gotten the attention and have not gotten any sort of controversy. So fundamentally, people's objection is to the Iraq War. I don't think we should be a proxy for that particular battle.
You can't escape that. Like
you've invited that. Like you've opened the they have done this. Wow. Again. Like, you could have called this anything else and told the same stories against a lot of other backdrops, and I think accomplished those goals. When he talks about we heard these stories and wanted to tell this, but like, no, now you're basing something on stories, but like almost deliberately going out of your way to not get the full picture, seemingly, with some of these answers where he's like, oh, well, we didn't hear that in our stories, so we're not going to include that. Or like, I'm sure there are plenty of people that would love to talk about different aspects of that conflict, assuming they're still alive.
Yes.
It's a real mess. It's like baffling. Like, I was reading all this stuff yesterday and just like shaking my head, just going like, why the fuck would anyone do this?
Yes, this ship sailed in 2009, and you should have just let it go. I like that. And again, like you said, that's the best explanation I can come up with, is that this guy has just been so married to or invested in this idea for this long, like he can't let it go. I don't know what other reason you would have for dredging this up at this particular time. Like, it's just baffling.
Right. Yeah. Weird.
At any rate, I guess we'll stay tuned and see if it comes out. Sounds like they're trucking along. In other news, we meant to touch on this last week, and I forgot to put it in the list. But
speaking of games,
essentially EA is returning to college football. I guess they.
Yeah.
Cool.
How long has it been?
Oh,
been quite some time, right?
2014, 2013.
Okay.
So like the last issued NCAA football became like an expensive video game because it was the last one, and people would buy it and import whatever current colleges, like for Xbox 360. Like that game rose in value quite a bit.
It wasn't like an NBA Elite situation of like they shipped it and then only printed 8,000 copies or something like that.
No, it was the last one, and so as a result, like people that didn't get it, that wanted it, like at some point that game started going for like $100 or more or something. Like, it wasn't some outrageous amount of that is an outrageous amount of money compared to most of EA's other annualized sports franchises. Like, old Madden is like bargain bin $3 used game type territory, right? So, yeah. So this is not necessarily NCAA. In fact, it is not NCAA. It is EA Sports College Football, and they have partnered with a licensing company, CLC, to get some schools and uniforms and playbooks and stuff like that. But according to the ESPN story, it looks like they will not like, and this has always been the case for them, like names, likenesses, like all that stuff for real college players will not be in the game.
Ugh.
And that stuff's weird because like that's something the NCAA seems to be attempting to address, like maybe too little too late or whatever. I don't necessarily follow that stuff closely enough to be truly on top of it, but like it seems like the idea of like, hey, can we maybe get some college players some money if they're going to be used for all this stuff, and pay them for likenesses or pay them for, you know, jerseys or, you know, whatever it ends up being. It seems like that sort of stuff is starting to move in different areas, but EA seems to be kind of sidestepping some of that NCAA stuff here. And
yeah, so just like putting two and two together here, does that mean that the NCAA controls all the likeness rights for the players at the moment?
Well,
like,
I think
would they be the ones to say yes or no.
I guess it's more of a like a, you know, they can't get the license rights because they're amateur athletes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's stuff that you kind of just can't do, but it gets done in so many different ways. And you know, college sports just always seemed like a weirdly sleazy thing to me anyway, with the amount of money that it seems like shadowy money, right? It's like a bizarre thing of alumni funneling money in here and doing this and that. And hey, you got a car, you know, but not money. Look, I watched Blue Chips twice, so I think I know a thing or two about college sports.
You're a professional at this point.
Yes. Yeah, so I don't know. This could be a situation where like, if that end gets worked out on the NCAA side, where they figure out some kind of framework for the likeness stuff or whatever ends up happening, like there could be a door where EA says like, okay, now that framework's in place, we are able to use it and get these likeness rights and do this and that. But right now they're very much like, you'll be able to import whatever stats or numbers or names you want, like they always were in the past, because, you know, then people would just make the real stuff and, you know, import it. And in some cases you could share those rosters online. So it was very easy to just like buy the game, download the right roster and be like, finally, this is all the real players and none of them have to get paid for it. Yay.
It's what Pro Evolution Soccer did for, you know, 15 plus years now.
Yeah, totally. It's, you know, it's what Fire Pro Wrestling has done in a lot of cases for generations. But yeah, I don't know. College sports always skeeved me out for a lot of those reasons, where it just seemed like, boy, there's a ton of money around this, especially in the pandemic when you've had like, we gotta get these games back on. I'm like, wait, why? No, you don't. Stop. What? Hang on. Stop for a sec here. What are you saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. But people seem to love college sports in some parts of the country.
So what if I would have, if they don't have the player names in, so they will have the team names. Is that what we're saying? Like they'll have the teams and they'll have the league and all that sort of stuff.
Or like school names and uniforms and stuff like that. Okay. So they've licensed certain aspects of it to where they could have, the real, I assume the school name and not just like Pittsburgh, you know, or whatever.
I'm just wondering what the pull is, right? Because if you don't have the players, it seems like a fairly important. I mean, it must be popular because these games have always sold over here. Yeah, we never got these in Europe. You know, very small.
Oh yeah, why? Yeah, we never got the Gaelic football, so you know, it's mutual.
Yeah, we've all suffered.
And yeah, so it's but they've kind of never had the players, so I think that's sort of, you know, that's sort of part and parcel for what these games have been, and that player base is probably used to it. But yeah, I assume they still have like, because you know what, you want it to be as authentic as possible, so you want like, oh well, we've got your fight song, and here's a guy dressed up in a dog outfit that dances on the sidelines or whatever the hell. I'm not.
No. This is 100% correct. Yeah.
Do
Okay. Good.
they have the bands? All the
yeah,
bands,
you would have some kind of bands play, right? You would do that. You'd have a marching band.
Just none of the band members' likenesses.
Yeah. It's just funny to think because like the college football stuff always felt like such a afterthought, because it was like Madden would come out and then NCAA would come out, and it felt like last year's Madden game because they were developed in tandem, and so it was like Madden came out, and then they would start on the next one using that code, whereas Madden would go diverge and do something else. And so you would always have like this weird, almost like Call of Duty in a way, where it's like when Call of Duty became multiple studios and stuff, it was like, this one, the fire looks good. This one, you can dive on your stomach, whatever.
Madden has the good fire tech. Everybody.
Yeah, Madden has the good fire tech, and NCAA has dolphin dives. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah. No timeline on this. I don't think
I wonder if they're just getting out, just to say it, maybe to help the NCAA stuff kick that can down a little bit further or something. I don't know. Somebody has to make the step first.
I mean, like literally the last line of the ESPN story is the game, whenever it returns, will be the first college football title since NCAA football for 2014.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if maybe they're out there just to like say, hey, we intend to bring this stuff back. We did these licensing deals, but like not having a firm release date lets them adjust if situations line up where they could go do something with NCAA and or whatever they can do to make that game more authentic without having to actually spend that much more money is what they'll do, right? That's
EA Sports College Football just has this weird like generic ring to it. It's just
it feels weird. Like 2K. It feels just like when they're like, hey, we're making professional football 2K. What was it? Was like the last one was
EA had one as well. They had like EA Tennis or something. There was one that was this EA Golf. No, I guess that's Origin Tiger. I think it was EA Tennis. There was one that was
when Tiger had his weird moments there, and they dropped him for like Rory McIlroy or whatever. Wasn't there one year where it was just like EA PGA Masters Golf?
Yeah, I think that's right. But then they just brought Tiger back as soon as it was like socially acceptable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess.
Did
but
they?
then
No,
now they don't have the.
Did they?
2K has the. Like 2K has the PGA rights now, so like they turned the golf club into an official PGA game, didn't they?
The golf club. Now that's a name.
Yes, PGA Tour 2K21 was last year's 2K licensed golf game.
Yeah.
Golf.
Are you ready for some college football?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
EA MMA.
Sure.
That's somebody in chat said.
Oh God, right? Yeah, before when they didn't have the UFC license and they were just like, we're gonna make an MMA game. They just went after fighters, right? They just went and got the likeness rights individually.
Bellator people or something. Oh, did they have? I'm trying to think. They must have. Yeah, this is probably long before the UFC sewed all that stuff up.
Yeah, because there was like separate organizations, but also just like retired fighters or something. Seems like a game that like Ken Shamrock would have been in.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Kimbo
Frank Shamrock would have been. Man. EA MMA. That's a...
Yeah. It's got a sort of a Kirkland signature vibe to it.
Right.
It's like, this is whiskey's not half bad for being generic. I wonder who really makes it.
Just like yellow label, black text, MMA, and then somewhere on it says like, it's in the game, ? Like,
Smart choice, MMA, yes. So, aside from the stuff we've discussed already, pretty slow news week. I just kind of grabbed some random stuff that is of any interest whatsoever, such as Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's release date, which has been announced as June 11th. Which is
right in time for E3.
I was just about forever, even though who knows what the future of E3 is, forever a one or first or second week June release to me will be, it's the game they're sending out right as E3 is happening and nobody's going to pay any attention to. But
right, yeah,
that Ratchet game looks just fine. I don't think they're trying to bury it or anything like that.
No, because if anything, like with all of these presentations being, and no one's going to be able to find a PlayStation 5 by then anyway. It'll be okay.
No, sure.
Yes. But this lets them, like, as all the eyeballs are on them as they talk about Gran Turismo and God of War or whatever else, they can then say like, "Hey, Ratchet's out now too."
Yes.
Try to get a PS5. I know a guy that's got the chips.
Or don't. I don't know. I almost put the class action lawsuit about DualSense drifting in here, but did not. But now I've just mentioned it out loud, so I guess we're talking about it. But like.
Oh, and
the rest of the PS5.
Your rest problem has jumped over to my house as well.
Oh, just
nice.
give it a couple of weeks. It'll probably clear up like it did
So
for me.
the controller doesn't work. Is that what happens to you?
Where it won't come on unless you could get up and hit the power button twice on the console.
Yeah,
to make
it says hit
Yes.
the PlayStation button to get it to wake up, and it's like nope, doesn't do anything.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Some issues, a few issues with that hardware, but here we are. Anyway,
Early
Ratchet looks good.
adopters.
Yes, for sure. Ratchet is not that far off now. It turns out. Axiom Verge 2 will also be out in quote spring, which is pretty soon. That is soon. Yeah. Launching on the Switch and the Epic Store exclusively on the personal computer.
Huh.
So,
all right. That game
completely forgot that was happening.
Yeah, that game looks good and like fairly different from the first game.
Yeah.
Set in Antarctica?
The color palette is like totally, it's like they hit the invert filter. It's like so bright now and color like purples.
Yeah. Yeah, so but that I guess like that has this knock-on effect where I really liked that first game, and looking at this, I'm like, this looks good. Doesn't necessarily evoke the first game in ways that I would have expected. But also I love that game so much, I would definitely am fascinated by this and willing to give it a shot. It's just like the trailers, just for one reason or another, I just look at it and go like, yeah, it looks okay. It's got
a lot more of like an outdoor naturalistic kind of vibe compared to the like weird glitch fest subterranean thing going on in the first game.
Right. Is Tom Happ making this all on his own as well? Maybe he had to make the trailer too.
Yeah, maybe.
Entirely possible.
Yeah, so it's also like it's funny, like Axiom Verge definitely came out at a time when a lot of those types of games were being made again at like a smaller studio or indie level. But I feel like the time between that game and this game, there's just been even more. And so it's like an even more competitive landscape for the like, Metroidvania action adventure type of game. So I wonder how it will fare.
Visually too, because it was fairly unique.
Yeah,
like it didn't. Not alone. Is it? What's that? What's the game you were playing? The one with the spells and stuff. The sort of procedurally generated.
Noita.
Yeah, it's like Noita kind of does that thing with the pixel art. It's more common now.
Definitely, like that style is definitely around for sure. But yeah, Axiom Verge is so good. Yeah, I'm happy to give this one a shot, and I hope it's fantastic.
It looks good. Nintendo really blew it on this one and announced a Nintendo Direct for tomorrow instead of like say this morning when we could talk about it on the show.
God dang it!
Yeah,
Nintendo.
Don't they know?
Yeah, seriously.
Let's make some bets.
Yeah, so yeah, I threw it in here to see what do you guys think? Let's get some predictions. They're saying Smash Brothers Ultimate will be featured, but also games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the first half of 2021, quote unquote. So
don't they have like one more character to announce for Smash? Like I don't know if they do that at one of these.
I thought they have like a whole new season of characters, don't they? Or they're like
I think they're
part of the way through that.
They're part of the way through that. So I don't know how many more they've promised for that season.
More. But I don't know if that gets announced here or if they have a Smash Brothers Direct or whatever they do for.
Well, I bet what they do here is they say, "Here's the character," and then in 3 days we'll have we'll take the ankle bracelet off Sakurai and let him come out and show it off. Right. Yeah. So first half of 2021 for Switch. I feel I've got
a list here. I'll just run down the stuff we know about real fast. We just got past Mario 3D World, Monster Hunter Rise is coming out next month. New Pokemon Snap is in April.
Okay,
but that's kind of it for first party as far as I'm seeing. So, and they said first half 2021, so that's like plenty of space for something new to just kind of get dropped and released soon, kind of Paper Mario style, like they did last year.
Yeah, so this isn't. It's probably not this new Zelda, or if they're really focusing on first half of 2021, like realistically, that's probably not in this window. Bayonetta 3, I feel like Platinum just recently said like, hey, we ain't going to talk about Bayonetta 3 until we have some Bayonetta 3 to talk about.
Yeah.
In a sort of like stop asking us about Bayonetta 3 sort of way.
That's
which is
definitely
either
how
a
it came
rope-a-dope
off.
or real.
Or that's just Kamiya being Kamiya.
Right, yeah. So maybe this is them announcing and releasing it all on the same day, right? Like it could be anything, but I doubt it. Like Metroid, they've been so dark on it for so long.
Yeah.
That this doesn't seem like the time to bring it back out. Oh, you know, some people in chat are saying, what about that Metroid trilogy remake or something? Maybe.
Zelda's 35th anniversary is in like
That's
5
right.
days.
That's right. I forgot. I totally meant to mention that. I forgot. Like, they could be like I feel like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are kind of conspicuously absent on the Switch. That seems like something they would do, right?
I guess so.
Sure.
Yeah.
They should put
and
Wind
those
Waker on
both
the
came out
Switch.
for Wii U, right?
I mean, Wind Waker absolutely did. I think Twilight Princess came out.
Yeah, there was a Twilight Princess.
Yes, it did. Yes. They should put Wind Waker on the Switch.
Why not?
Sure. I don't. I loved that game. I don't need to. I don't. What's left on the Wii U for the pillage?
Pie in the sky. What about its xCloud on the Switch?
Seems like they were throwing cold water on that the last time anybody hinted at it.
Okay.
But it's always possible.
For Pie in the Sky, it'll have been 2 years since they showed the Breath of the Wild 2 sneak this
God, you're
summer.
right. Yeah.
So it has actually been a while.
2 years.
Yeah.
But it just seems like the next phase of Nintendo games has to be sort of big Nintendo games, like that early sort of couple of years. So it's hard to think of what they might just shadow announced, in the space of 4 months or whatever.
Right.
And would this only be first party stuff? Well, they mentioned because there's like No More Heroes 3, I think, is probably this year as well. Right?
They don't say specifically that it's a first party only event, and I suspect that they would do something with some third party stuff here as well, for sure. Why not? Yeah.
Are they bringing Hitman to Switch? Because they were going to at one of them, and they didn't.
There is a cloud version of Hitman for Switch.
Cloud version, yeah.
Wow.
You can totally stream Hitman to your Switch.
Oh, so same as like the Halo
Control
stuff, right?
Yeah. It's like Control did, and it's Resident Evil in Japan, stuff like that.
Resident Evil,
yeah.
PSO2 was a cloud version in Japan for the Switch.
Good.
Yeah.
Something like Breath of the Wild 2, I feel like is a real big holiday release, like months of teaser, kind of, a lot of a lot of ramp up to that.
You have to ask yourself, like, how rigidly do they stick to this? Like, roughly 50 minutes of information focused on available games like Smash Brothers and games coming in the first half of 2021. I feel like, and we have to go back and watch, but I feel like there's precedent for like them saying that, and then at the end being like, here's a little teaser for something that's way further out. So I think there's always still a potential that maybe you see a Zelda thing.
Sure. Even
though that's highly unlikely that game's coming out in the first half of this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, I can't help wondering how much any potential developments about a new Switch model factor into their software release plans. Like, they've got to be thinking about holding some stuff back to go along with that, right? If that is happening.
Yeah.
They've done that twice with a Zelda before. They did it with Twilight Princess and the Wii. And they did it with Breath of the Wild on the Switch. So, like, you could totally see that next game kind of getting quietly upgraded onto some new model if that is happening.
I wonder if they do, like, if there's just like here's a bigger Animal Crossing content drop than like the seasonal updates and stuff. Like that game was so popular.
Oh,
sure. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of that release. So yeah, I could totally see like a Animal Crossing year 2 kind of situation, maybe.
Yeah.
The rabbit is back. Eggs are everything.
But Bunny Day 2021 is not something I am prepared for. Anyway, that is taking place at what is it? Come back.
2 p.m. Pacific.
2 p.m.
Tomorrow.
Yes, 2 p.m. Pacific tomorrow is when that will happen. So find out what they got going on soon. Last pair of stories here. I guess we've got our weekly video game, TV, and movie casting update going on now.
Ooh,
Oh boy.
Tinseltown.
Yes. Casting for HBO's Last of Us series has been announced, with Pedro Pascal playing Joel and Bella Ramsey of Game of Thrones fame playing Ellie. Does anybody have
She's
any
great.
opinion?
She's good.
Is she?
She's good.
I have neither seen any of Game of Thrones, nor I think I'm also the last person on the planet who has probably never seen Pedro Pascal in anything, so I have no perspective on this news. So hit me with your...
Oh, I remember. Okay. Yeah.
She was like a kid, right? She was like the kid who was in charge of one of the lands or whatever.
Yes.
She had like a real good Scottish accent, I think.
Yes.
Mhm.
Of the bear people. Forget Liana Mar
Bear people? I didn't see that.
Bear Clan, whatever. Yeah. Love me some Pedro.
Yeah, what's up? He seems like a
they
fun
were
guy.
both in Game of Thrones. Yeah.
What's his deal?
Yeah.
He's great. He has a fantastic mustache. Very, very suave. Did not like him in the new Wonder Woman movie, but
really?
Wonder Woman
He was
movie
hamming it up though. He knew what movie he was in. He was the one person who knew this was bullshit and just kind of like turned it up to 12. It was so silly. He was great. I mean, the Mandalorian, he's basically you don't see much of him, but he's got range. He's got range. I think that's
definitely
good.
Yeah. He was
He doesn't
really
get
good also in
typecast
Game of
as
Thrones.
much. Yeah, of course.
He's also now technically in the Spy Kids movie universe because he's in the sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Yep. We Can Be Heroes.
Yeah. He was a hero.
May we all be part of the Spy Kids cinematic universe someday.
Right.
It's my dream.
Yeah. It's the only thing we can really aspire to.
I didn't know they got together and they had a kid. Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
It's the original Lava Girl. How come they couldn't get the original Shark Boy back? What is Taylor Lautner doing?
What is Taylor Lautner doing?
Not enough.
I don't know.
What the hell happened to that? That guy seemed like the biggest thing since ever, and then he just
Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. They're both fantastic actors.
They have careers.
Yeah, they're great.
What's up with him?
Yeah. When you said original Shark Boy, I thought you meant professional wrestler Shark Boy.
No.
I was like, yes, I would watch Shark Boy act in a film.
I can't wait till they get to that episode of Dark Side of the Ring. It's just Shark Boy.
Yeah.
Good casting. Anyway, good choices.
Yeah, this seems fine. I have zero expectations for that show either way, but we're really here to talk about the only casting news of the week that matters.
Oh no.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have our claptrap. It's Jack Black.
What?
Yeah. Big YouTube
Black
gaming
claptrap.
influencer, Jack Black.
Jack Black. That's right.
Thor
Look,
cosplayer. Jack Black.
Yeah.
I like Jack Black just fine. It also just seems like the most blatant, obvious, who's funny that we can get for this funny robot.
Weird,
you like Jack Black, right? He streamed that Tony Hawk. Let's just get him.
I think it makes perfect sense. I think
so.
In some form, and I think we've spoken on this show about. I feel like my conflicted feelings about Jack Black. I think Jack Black is the human claptrap.
Sure.
And I don't. It's. But I like Jack Black in some. Have you seen The Jackal? Now that's a great role for Jack Black, where he builds that gun mounting frame and then Bruce Willis guns him down. Crazy, it's great stuff. And we've talked about it. The original run of Tenacious D is fantastic. When he did that the stuff he did in Mr. Show when he was occasionally on there was also fantastic. He's very funny. But I look at it as like, oh, this is great. They should do that. Yes, this is perfect. This is actually great casting. It doesn't make me want to see Borderlands the movie any more than I did before, but I just look at it and go like, okay, yeah, no, you're doing it. All right, great. It's like the first casting thing for that movie that I've looked at and been like, okay, yeah, no, that's yes, yeah, sure, yes. Why don't you should do that.
I don't remember the story of Borderlands 1 very well, but was Roland a serious character or was he always like cracking wise?
So all the player characters in Borderlands 1 were silent. And so Roland had no dialogue at all, but you get into Borderlands 2 where they turned those characters into quest givers and stuff like that, he was like a more serious, generally speaking, a more serious, insofar as anything in that fucking nightmare can be serious. He was like a more gruff kind of character, I guess.
Perfect for
I'm
Kevin
trying to think
Hart.
like who are the key speaking roles? Yeah, Kevin Hart. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like
Yes.
Kevin Hart. You just go like fucking what? It sucks. Like, and then I get caught up and go like, wait, why do I care about the casting in a Borderlands film? What the fuck is wrong with me? Yeah, put Kevin Hart in it. Who fucking cares? Yeah, I don't like it. When I think about the story of Borderlands, it is so mindless and pointless. That it's just like, you know, like you don't stick to that lore, right? If they stick super close to like the story and plot twists of Borderlands 1, it's like a fucking guy walking forward and shooting shit, and then like facing off against this giant thing that barely moves. And
There's
it's
like
like,
an
oh,
angel
yeah.
lady that shows up and talks to you every so often.
Exactly.
You know
Yes.
what she's on about.
Yes.
And then it's over.
Hologram Kate Blanchett shows up. I assume that's the role she's playing. Like, I don't even know.
She's Lilith, apparently.
Okay, so that in if this was set in Borderlands 2-ish time frame, then she would be showing up in hologram form in some ways. But if this was a strictly Borderlands 1 plot, she would not. Fucking sure, man.
They've
Yes.
half
I mean, that is my
the cast of
reaction.
Jumanji on this.
Yeah.
Kevin-
the case.
Kevin Hart and Jack
Dude,
Black are both in that.
what if
That's
this
already a
blows
video
up?
game movie.
What if this is one of those movies that just improbably blows up the way that Jumanji movie did? Like, what if Borderlands suddenly becomes like the hottest thing in movies?
It's
I don't
gonna
think
happen
I'm
after
ready.
You said it.
Well, then the Embracer Group would have a lot of things to do for a Borderlands 4, and everyone will get their $1 billion, I guess, right? But like, I think that would be a sick, like, that would probably be better for the games in the long run, right? Okay, like if that movie, which there's just no way it's going to stick super faithfully to what Borderlands was, because there's nothing there. There's just not enough there. There's characters, but not necessarily a story. So whatever, you just do what you're going to do. But like, yeah, let's say it blows up. Well, then the next time they go to make a Borderlands game, they're like, well, we're totally just going to fucking make the movie. We're going to like follow on the movie and throw out all the stupid shit that we came up with over the last 7 years. And throw out all of the Borderlands 2 and 3 garbage. Like maybe they get it back on track. Who could fucking say? Like Borderlands 1 was like subdued by comparison in a way that you're like, yeah, this was like, it was a really fun game. It was a really good, solid foundation. What got it off the rails is like a failure to evolve on the gameplay front, and the writing being some of the fucking dumbest shit in the fucking world. So yeah, bring in writers. I don't know. Like people always say that Tales from the Borderlands is like the best written Borderlands thing. So yeah, give it to other writers that might do a better job, and yeah, maybe that'll save Borderlands in some disgusting way.
Eli Roth is directing it, so
yes.
Curious. I forgot about that for a second.
My only question: does he do the claptrap voice? Do they do the high pitched? They process his voice to do the high pitched claptrap thing.
I think they put a robot effect on it and maybe glitch it out a little bit, but you don't pay for Jack Black and then not let Jack Black be Jack Black.
That's fair.
Except in the Jackal. That was before Jack Black was truly Jack Black. You know what I mean?
Well, look, we're not talking about cinema here. We're just talking about movies. All right.
Right.
Should have been Ben Schwartz.
He's busy.
He's too big for it. He's too
big
for it.
Sonic.
There are more Sonic the Hedgehog movies to make. His dance card is full.
Oh, that first one wasn't bad.
Oh boy.
I do love
right outside the
that
office.
Yeah, I really do love that they announced, like, tried to make a big deal about revealing the name of it, and it's just called Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Like what?
Like title revealed.
Holy shit, they did it.
Yeah.
They called it 2?
Good on them. Like, fuck it. They should make 1 billion Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Just keep going with it.
Make Sonic and Knuckles, and then you can plug it into the old movies, and some of those characters appear there.
I mean, which would you rather be?
They should do that. Like you say that, but like they should do that.
Which would you rather be, the next Resident Evil, where they're just making a new one every 18 months? Borderlands or Sonic the Hedgehog?
Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, Sonic.
Yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog seems like this generally, but also Like
Spinball.
the 7th Borderlands movie. Imagine what that would even look like how far out it would have to get for them to keep cranking it the fuck out.
It would have both The Rock and Vin Diesel.
Yeah,
at that point.
Fair enough.
You just have to keep adding marquees to, it's fucking...
Is John Cena going to be in the Borderlands movie?
I can't imagine.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I was about to say that's beneath him, but I don't know. That's John Cena should just drop another album.
He should.
Can't argue with that.
The world needs it. Hip hop needs
That's
it.
right. That's right. The world needs more John Cena any way we can get it. We also need to take another quick break before we read some emails. We're going to do that right now, and then we'll be right back. Emails, bombcast@giantbomb.com. Yes.
I wasn't expecting. It's like this barrage. Just like, emails.
That's right.
Oops.
Yes.
Sorry.
Everybody put your email hat on because we can't read the emails without it. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the address.
I don't have my email hat.
It's just pretend to put on your email glasses will suffice. They let you read the emails better.
Oh,
and give better answers.
Less eye strain on the emails.
That's right.
Important.
First email from Corey in Pittsburgh. If you had a backpack full of spaghetti, what else would you store in the other compartments of the backpack? I would assume you'd have to have at least a piece of garlic bread in the water bottle holder.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Parmesan
breadstick
cheese.
Yeah,
I would have the little canister shaker of Parmesan in the water bottle area.
Yeah. I think I'd put the garlic bread at the bottom so it would soak up all the sauce.
Ooh,
That's
that
a
bread's
good
just going to
idea.
be mush though by the time you get to it, depending on how long you're walking around with the spaghetti in your bag.
I'd put some utensils in like the laptop sleeve. Where to put the meatballs though? Like they sometimes have that little. Is it a fold open like a TSA approved? Because then you could put some plates in there too and just like open up the.
Oh, I thought we would
backpack
just be
and
like
just go to
scooping
town.
out of the
Yeah,
backpack.
I kind of want to just eat out of the backpack like a.
That's fine.
a real
But
dirt
if,
bag.
if you
Maybe-
want
maybe
to have a little
maybe
bit
the
of class,
strap.
for Christ's sake,
Maybe the
you
strap
would
is one
open
of
it
those
up
little
like a
mobile
normal
phone
person.
holder, little mobile phone pocket. You could put some meatballs
Oh.
Oh
in
yeah,
the front.
Not enough meatballs.
yeah.
Yeah, it's bad ratio. Considering how much spaghetti is probably in this backpack.
Backpack can hold a lot of spaghetti.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a little thing of crushed red peppers in there somewhere.
Yeah.
That's my request.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like a rolly bag, that's a whole different topic there.
Damn.
Pelican case.
Now you're talking.
I just want to jump in.
That's enough spaghetti to sit in. Man, we were talking about a very different afternoon now.
This is my sitting spaghetti.
So cushy.
Bring me my sitting spaghetti and my eating spaghetti. Don't mix them up this time.
Yes, you really don't want to get them mixed up. You gotta.
Oh, now I want to get onto a flight with a backpack full of spaghetti.
You've tried it with burritos. There's only the next logical step.
Maybe a long
Just
time
free-
till you guys see me then.
Free-form pasta. That's right. Email from John. In the arcade in the arcade game Donkey Kong, the protagonist is named Jumpman.
Yep.
If the version of Donkey Kong in that game became Cranky Kong, does that mean that Jumpman is actually Mario Sr.? For the sake of discussion, what do you think Old Man Mario Sr. would be like?
Dead.
Say he's really got a bad hip. He's really
Yeah.
throughout just years of jumping higher than he is tall and landing.
Hammering
really
and
just
climbing those girders and picking up
murder on his
purses and
joints.
stuff. Yeah.
murder.
Does that mean because that's not Peach? Who's that again? That's Rose.
Daphne.
Pauline? Oh,
Oh, sorry,
Daphne.
Pauline. Right, Pauline. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, she's still like contemporary Mario age. So what's going on there? Is she a vampire?
maybe
Yeah.
she
Is
just-
that Pauline's junior?
This is like multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
maybe Pauline just retired to Brooklyn. I don't know.
I think Mario, was a very young man in his Jumpman days, and he's aging, but he's still, Mario looks like he's like 40 something now, right?
Yes, always.
Yeah, you look at him.
The Mario family, a long-lived family,
right?
Longevity.
Yeah.
A lot of weirdly, almost everybody in the chat thinks he would be like your racist uncle.
Mario?
Yeah.
Oh, Mario Senior. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, the Cranky
Old
Kong
Italian
version
guy.
of Mario is definitely worked construction for a while, worked a plumbing job for a while. Like he's either
he's from a different time. You just got to put up with him.
Or
Or
he's like a weirdly
super
conflicted
woke.
where he's where he's like very big on unions because he grew up that way, but also has views that directly clash with that in ways that you're just like, but you're turn the TV off, man.
But he taught you how to drive, so you can't completely hate him.
Yeah, right. You're more sad than anything else.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
Let's see. Chris from Gold Canyon
read
Arizona.
the Mario Historia for more details on the Mario timelines.
Fine coffee table book.
You'll be giving your Clubhouse talk later.
Yeah.
That's right. Chris from Gold Canyon, Arizona. I'm currently listening to your discussion about BioWare and Anthem from last week, and I have to tell you, I still haven't gotten over that debacle.
Oh.
I know it's a little late, but should they offer refunds if they do decide to officially cancel Anthem? Thanks for the many years of great content.
I think it's a
been
little
out
too
by that.
late.
I don't know if I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna necessarily weigh in on what they should do, but there's zero fucking chance they will do that.
Yeah,
Bad luck.
that's not,
They don't need to do it.
If they,
it's not going to
if they
happen.
kill, if they kill that thing off, they are never going to speak of Anthem again. EA will quietly forget that thing ever existed.
At most, but I know I don't know. That game, the number of hours of content in it felt like appropriate for a $60 product. They didn't make good on the live game aspect of it, but it's not like it was broken. Yeah, I just don't. I'm trying to think, like, would there be a scenario where they go like, you get 3 months of Origin, you get 3 months of EA Play Plus or whatever or something, but I do not think that happens.
No. Yes, absolutely. In their minds, they could make the argument that, hey, we shipped a game, it worked. You got
We patched it
video game
so that it worked.
Yes, you got what you paid for. That's it. I thought maybe word would have leaked out about which way they went, unless they're still deliberating on that decision.
Oh right, yeah. If they were
I
going to fund it or
just kill it off. I guess hopefully we'll find out soon.
they probably just took the meeting and then everyone went back to Redwood Shores or went home near Redwood Shores and sat there and just go like, huh.
Nobody wants to have to be the one to make the call.
Yeah.
And then just like,
No one wants to
it's
drop
like in
the
the
guillotine.
documentary, there's just a hand picking up a red phone and just picks it up and you just see the mouth of the phone just goes, shut it down.
Yes.
You heard me.
Also,
And slams
the
phone
hand
down.
the hand is Dr. Claw for some reason. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Shut it down.
Dr. Claw makes all the hard decisions at EA. Stephen and Campbell. Is Dead Rising a Musou game?
No.
No, there's not a Muso button.
I don't. Okay.
True.
I don't have a strong argument against it being one, but I don't want it to be one. If that makes sense.
The combat is more engaging and interesting in Dead Rising. They're just more interesting options.
It's too good for that. Don't do that
Yeah.
to Dead Rising. Oh man.
Are we due another Dead Rising? It's been a little
Oh,
while.
I was just about to say, dude, remember Dead Rising? Like, I fired up Dead Risings 3 and 4 when the Series X
Yeah.
came in. Just take a look at them. And remember that? I mean, they shut that
Yeah,
studio down. They bought that studio and then ultimately killed it. Like, not that somebody else can't make a Dead Rising game, but like I don't know. I don't know that we ever see a Dead Rising again, which really makes me kind of sad.
I liked 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
3 was not bad. 3 was all right.
Not bad.
3 had
was
3
okay.
had something going on.
Yeah.
4, I don't know about 4.
I don't know why 4
I know.
came to be.
4 just Like, they recast Frank West. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
How do you?
It could have been beyond their control, right? You never know.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Dan Aykroyd was asking too much.
Yeah. I really, God, I love those first 2 games though.
They are
Dead
kind of a
Rising 1 is
moment
just
in
such an
time game, though.
uncompromising thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're so of their era. I feel like it was such a
Yeah.
moment in time of the game where it was doing all these weird things that, like all the save stuff and the crafting in an action game. It was just open world. There were so many things that were like new and weird, and also like maybe it didn't do super well, but you didn't care because it was just so, like, I remember the save system being a bit of a nightmare in it, and you know, but it was just so cool. But I don't know if it works these days. You'd have to, I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's like the Dark Souls problem of when those games come out, they're so much different years later when everyone's able to like talk about it. Like, I wonder in the modern day internet version of one of those games, they just have to reinvent it again in a way.
Trying to remember how much of the time pressure 4 even had. I think they
took it all out. I think they got
they
rid
basically
of
you're right.
They like sanded all the edges off of that system by the time of 4. So it was just like kind of whatever.
It's like the most interesting part.
Yeah.
So good. I can still hear the sound of picking up objects. I want to play that game right now.
Man,
Such good vibes. That whole thing, it gives me such good vibes.
It's like a weird atmosphere to those games that's really hard to put your finger on. Like, they're so uniquely Japanese. Like, they almost remind, like, the Yakuza games almost remind me of Dead Rising a little bit, in the way that they just get this like super quirky vibe to them that you can't define exactly, but like it's unmistakable when you play it.
It's a game where you spend, a significant chunk of time driving a car in a circle in a parking garage to kill 53,000 zombies or whatever it is, but you don't feel bad about that. You're like, yeah, cool. This is awesome. It's great that I can do this.
Did you get that?
My cars kept breaking down. No, cars kept.
I don't remember if I actually did the job or not.
Was there a tank or something you used to get? Eventually, you could drive down there. I forgot.
That sounds right.
Sounds like something that would be in that game.
Yeah.
God, it was so much fun.
Didn't that take hours?
Uh-huh.
Wasn't that like a better part of a day to get that achievement or something? It's insane.
Something like that. Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. Good times. Let's see here. All right, he's back. It's been a little while. We got an email from Nathan in Tumwater, Washington.
Nathan.
Hi, dudes. What's the best thing to do when the power's out?
Oh.
Get on your phone and complain about it.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
I guess so. You really get
candles are great. Candles are a great time. Candles are
like
an
candles.
Underutilized thing. Yeah, they smell good. They look good. They create like interesting. Like,
babies burn themselves on candles, though.
That's true.
I can't do that. Mine's a little older now, and he won't touch it, probably, but I can't be too sure. He's not too bright.
He may just pick it up and throw it at something, and like, I didn't touch it. But check this out.
Yeah. Who knows?
How about a nice game of Go Fish?
Yeah.
Eat all the food in your fridge.
Yes.
We got out the lanterns. We got out some books and had a good time. Fun.
Build a blanket fort.
Yes. Take all beer in your fridge and put it out in the snow if there is snow.
If everyone else in your neighborhood is out as well, go outside with a flashlight. It's always fun. Go explore. Shine it in your neighbors' houses. See if they shine one back.
Get drunk in the dark.
Sure. Yeah. Always fun. Yes.
You can do that with power on.
Darkness. Yeah.
Yes.
And these lights.
Read all those video game art books you bought that you never read.
Here we go. All right. Lights out. Here we go.
If you're on a well rather than municipal water, you spend your time figuring out what you're going to do with toilets that don't flush.
Amen, dude. That was out in Maryland. That was fun.
You're familiar with this phenomenon?
Yeah, we had a well in Maryland. The first time that happened, I was like, "Oh fuck, dude, this isn't cool."
It really turns out to be your overriding concern when you can't flush any toilets. It's like nothing else is really important at the moment until we resolve this problem.
Why do all the neighbors have generators running? It's just the power. Right. And then I was like, oh.
yes.
We need to feed this baby milk and water and things.
Yeah. Being out of power is one thing. Being out of power and running water at the same time is quite something else. Yes. Let's see. How about Antonis, I believe. I hope is how I'm saying this right. Writes in and says, if there's such a thing as a Jason game, what is a Jeff game, a Brad game, a Jan game, and a Danny game?
Stroker for the Commodore 64.
Okay.
Say no more.
Smut games. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Smart. Snuff.
Sure. All right.
Is Lula
Well, now
VB in there?
my boring serious answer is not going to play now.
I don't know. Put a Donald Duck in my game, and then I'll start crying.
Okay.
Ooh, oh yeah.
Now you're talking.
Put a Donald
Given the
Duck,
context,
and then the Donald Duck will like catch other ducks. Maybe
That's all a Jan game is. Just a Donald Duck game. That's fair. Okay.
I'm scared
Drink
to say
Donald
it's
Duck
actually
orange juice while you play a Donald Duck game, or is that kind of take away from it?
delicious.
They still make that?
They still do.
Yeah,
baby.
I think. Yeah,
Do they really?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't seen that since 80s.
You got to go to your Dollar Tree to get it now, though. But
Wow.
Yeah, they fell on some
Look at
hard
that.
times. Like a
Is it full of
CBS
sugar?
might have it. Yeah.
Look
I'm
at
scared
that.
to say a Jan game would also be an anime game. I don't want to. I don't want to say that, but I'm slowly thinking it might become that.
You know, there was a time when I would have said that anime and Donald Duck did not go together, but I think that time has passed. I think we know that's no longer true. Yeah.
but given given present company, where it's probably going to be some sort of European sports situation.
Okay,
I
fair.
imagine.
Because if Don Bradman's on the cover, you're in.
Yeah,
Gaelic.
exactly.
Something
So,
Gaelic.
yeah,
Okay.
anything obscure or which actually, if I look at the games, that's not all that far.
No, when you're not here doing this, you're playing snooker games.
Yeah, I'm all about
snooker.
snooker.
games.
Archer McLean as snooker on the Amiga 600. Big fan.
Snooker?
Snooker, yeah.
Snooker.
Snooker
God.
sounds like
Snooker.
I always thought it was snooker.
It should be snooker. That sounds better. It's more fun to say.
it's a double
Snooker
O.
sounds like nonsense.
It's not you with an umlaut over it.
Like it's not crook. It's crook.
Yeah, took.
Damn it, you're all writers. Yeah. Darts. Any good darts games?
Snooker.
No.
Cool. Just like darts.
There's probably some Wii party game that you're like, I can
Right.
not throw the Wii remote, or hopefully better put this wrist strap on so I don't throw this at the TV as I play darts.
Did Mr. Mosquito have like a dart mini game?
It seems like it should have, but I don't know that it did.
It seems like a
Maybe
good
it
fit. Apparently Yakuza has one.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I would believe it.
What about you, Brad?
My answer's so boring. I don't know. I like a sandbox game with a bunch of like tools and abilities and physics and shit, and you just figure it out yourself.
How do you feel about Vikings?
Vikings, they're okay. I don't know. I got nothing against them.
I've got the game for you.
Do you have the game for me? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check that game out. As a matter of fact.
Well, okay. Well, here, what if I kind of don't like Vikings? Is it like super Viking-y?
Like, why don't we like Vikings? I'm from a Viking town, so I'm taking this personally.
I just think it's kind of boring. I just think the Viking stuff is like not like it kind of put me off that last Assassin's Creed. It's just like I don't. This Norse. This is not.
Okay, well, I got good news for you.
Not my thing.
I'm a professional modder, so what are you into?
A stroker for the Commodore 64.
Okay, so every character should be a copy of Stroker for the Commodore 64. Okay, I'll get right on that. I'll make it happen.
That's a survival game.
It was, okay, sure. All right, next email. Tom in the UK.
The Lost Vikings are good. That's a good Viking game.
There's only like 3 of them though, right? That's like pretty light on the Viking. Not really beating you over the head with it.
I mean, every playable character is a Viking. That's 100% Vikings.
Viking Battle for Asgard, the famous Creative Assembly video game.
Oh God, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I covered that game extensively before it came out. It was like, oh, they're making an action game. Weird.
Yeah.
The strategy people.
And then they made Alien Isolation, that team.
So, right. Yeah.
Yeah. They did all right.
It's Vikings versus aliens. No matter who wins, we lose.
I feel like Alien Isolation is a game that is always on the verge of coming back in some form. I feel like somebody is always talking about it. Does that make sense? Like it's this weird.
Yeah, it has a very cult fan base.
Yeah, it's like the sleeper hit kind of thing where like people are super into it, and it's like they're going to remaster that or make a new one at some point, right? Somebody's going to do something with that. Like people,
it's like anytime anyone mentions the Alien IP, especially if there's like a game associated with it, then it comes back into the conversation.
Totally. I feel like
it's a really good game.
There was another shoe to drop.
Yeah, they did that VR mod for it. Like,
was that official or was that?
No,
it wasn't
hacked in?
No.
Yeah, it was hacked. It was cool.
But it sounds like it was like well done.
I don't think I need that. I don't or can tolerate that. All right,
Doom
Tom
3?
in the UK.
Did that in VR.
That's true. Tom in the UK. I just bought a Mega Drive, and having grown up a Nintendo lad, it's okay. My favorite thing about it, though, is the sick, vintage-looking volume knob on the actual console itself. This is nuts. Does anyone know why this was a thing? Okay, first
is this
of all,
the first Mega Drive?
The slider?
Yeah. So first of all, I
slider.
Googled pictures of the Mega Drive to see if it was different from the US, but I think it was in fact a slider in all territories, right? Not a knob. I think he maybe just misspoke. But
Sure.
that said, a volume slider is just about as weird as a volume knob on a console. So
It just
That
had
was
a
awesome.
headphone jack on
Yeah.
it, and you could use that to get stereo sound out of it at a time when I want to say the official cables that came with it were just like standard, like 2 cable RCAs, like composite. And
is that all? Is that all it was? It was just for the headphone jack.
yes, yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work with your TV. It was just the headphone jack up front.
Right.
It worked.
Okay.
They took it out on the Mega Drive too, because I never had that first one.
I don't know which version of the Mega.
The MK2, it was
the smaller one that looked like crap.
Yeah, it had like a
Sounded like
circular
crap.
thing on top. Oh, did it have a worse sound card in it?
The
Have I been listening to the
Yeah, the
wrong
sound
version
chip-
of Streets of Rage 2 this whole time?
Yes,
Damn.
a lot of people who say that they think that Genesis and Mega Drive music sounds bad is because they didn't have a Model 1 Genesis. Because some of that stuff sounds really funky on some of those different models.
Wow, my childhood was a lie. I feel like.
Yeah, well,
I gotta go pick up one of those original ones now. Bummer.
oh, they look so good. It's such a good looking console. I wish they
What,
should have
first
called
one?
it the Mega Drive here. Yeah, the first one.
I was just gonna say, like, it's always so weird to me that we are the one odd territory out on that one. That everybody else had the Mega Drive, except for us. I don't know what was up with that, but also
we had the
looking
Master
at
System, and they had the Mark III. Was what the Master System was called there. So
what was Super Nintendo in Europe? Was it Super Nintendo? It was, right?
yes, yeah.
But it looked like the Super Famicom, right? Like they got the
Yeah.
Super Famicom design. But
Yeah, I was super bummed when I saw what you guys' one looks like. I was like, oh, that's a shame.
for us or for
Yeah.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got that was the one thing I bought in Japan when I went for the first time.
Yes,
I bought the
absolutely.
original NES. It's so good looking. God.
My first visit to Japan, the very first thing I went and bought was a Super Famicom. I had to have one
Awesome.
for $8.
And the
Perfect.
original one as well.
Yes.
The Famicom.
Yeah.
I bought the reissue, like the one with, I forget, it has like better AV output.
AV. Yeah, Famicom
on the
AV.
back.
Yeah.
I've got that late model, or it was like a much later model. One of those. I can't help laughing every time I look at the Mega Drive, because where like normally the Sega Genesis logo would be in the middle of the top, on the Mega Drive it just says 16-bit.
16-bit.
yeah.
It's so
And
good.
like the biggest fucking like metallic embossed lettering you could imagine. It just says 16-bit right there in the middle.
I didn't realize your one didn't have that. That's cool.
No, it says it very like kind of small down at the bottom, but the Sega Genesis
The logo's there.
is the main text. Yeah. Yes. Let's see here. Jake in Pineville, Louisiana. As someone who didn't start playing video games until the PS2 era, I have always been really intrigued by the old game streams and Mr. covers on the site. I've started actually looking into and playing older games lately, but the sheer amount of pre-PS2 games available to play is overwhelming. If you were preparing a video games 101 course, what would you include in your syllabus? Would you cover games by console, by decade, by genre?
I think it depends on the goal of the course.
Yeah. Yeah, or like what span of time. My first inclination is that I would structure it by kind of arbitrarily defined eras of like, the first wave of like arcade and American consoles right up until the Atari crash. And then like kind of the rise of Japanese consoles would sort of be a second era, like the second unit or whatever.
I think you chop out a lot of computer stuff at that point. If you just go from Atari to Nintendo, you miss like the Commodore 64 and a lot of that era of computing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
to be said about like the genres of stuff, like the evolution of, like I was talking about how like Street Fighter 2, evolved into, what we've got today. Seeing that, change through the console generations is interesting to me.
I think to have a functional, there's so much there. And I think to have like a functional understanding of what games are today and going forward and what they've been, I don't know that you necessarily need to go super deep into the old stuff. I think it's not like that stuff is interesting, but I think that you don't necessarily need to know that much about it to make modern games. Like there are classics that stand out and they stand the test of time, and I think you could incorporate that stuff, but I just don't know that you necessarily have to. But I don't know. Yeah, like which version of Tetris do you show people? Like, are you showing people like, hey, maybe that's it. Maybe you're like, hey, some of these franchises started here and continued up to here, and so you're showing like, here's Donkey Kong, here's Super Mario Brothers, here's Odyssey. You're like, and then they did this, and doing that sort of thing. But I don't know. There's so many different side streets, and like you get lost in so many different places on that like to actually pack it all into one course and then cover a lot of ground. Like you wouldn't be able to do that, because I would they're like, oh well, we've got to do this whole, like, this is what was happening in Europe when all of this was happening, and you do your like, hey, here's the Amiga, like here's what happened, like we're going to spend an hour talking about the Atari ST for some reason here, like that whole thing, and how that then factored back into 16-bit consoles and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you could go a lot of different ways with it, but I think at the end of the day, like if you're just trying to get people trained up on like, here's what modern video game development and design looks like, I don't think you necessarily have to spend a time with old stuff, because a lot of people who learn those lessons are making games today, and you can just look at that stuff.
It's almost more interesting now that you mention it to like look at where the dead ends are, like where were genres and ideas about making games that sort of stopped dead in their tracks. And 2 days ago, I needed to like burn 30 minutes before bed, so I just took out Die Hard Trilogy, which I hadn't played in like 10 years, and I was like, man, they just don't make games like this anymore. Like any of them, like good games, the like weird, platforming shooter thing, isometric, and then also the driving game, arcade style driving game. It just was like, wow, these are just three really like unique games that I cannot like even think of a modern equivalent for them, really.
And at the time, Die Hard Trilogy was so fucking badass.
It was the best. Like, you could drive through those people.
Yeah. And you've got three decent games in here.
It's like Bayou Billy, but good.
Right. Yeah. And then they did Die Hard Trilogy 2, and I thought it really sucked. There's that era where they were doing all those, like there was like, here's Die Hard for the N64, and you play as John McClane's daughter, like all this other stuff. Like they just kept trying to bang out like that's a history. Oh, you want a class? It's the history of Die Hard in video games, from like the Japan only TurboGrafx game that's just like weird isometric top down style John McClane running and jumping around, falling in pits and shit. A terrible game, but like just bizarre. Yeah.
And then that course has to end with apocalypse.
Right. Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yes, it's our Bruce Willis course. The history of Bruce Willis in video games.
And Tony Hawk's on the...
Yes.
There's a Hudson Hawk game, isn't there? There's a...
Yeah, and NES.
Oh yes, for the
Yeah.
NES there absolutely is. Man, that movie was infamous back in the day.
Is there a Fifth Element game? That
Yeah,
seems
there's
there's
interesting.
gotta be.
for PlayStation and PC. Yeah, there's a. Yeah, that was the one time I went to ECTS. They were showing off the Fifth Element game, and it was just all these like flying taxi city street stuff. It was like, wow, this looks amazing. And then what they actually
And it
ended
came
up
out?
shipping. Yeah, it came out. It was
Okay.
Oh yeah, that looks like a PS1 game. All right.
yeah,
Oh boy.
it really sucked. Okay, Callisto did that, and they did Nightmare Creatures.
Wow, that's
So
weird.
there's
I was
some
talking about
kinda-
Nightmare Creatures only yesterday for the first time again. And
That's
God
one
knows
of
how
those.
long. How does that come up twice in 2 days?
Well, you know. All right. Real quick, a couple more here. Gustav from Sweden. Sticking with the theme of old games, the video game box has been a dormant art form for quite some time. Even if the rise of digital and the uniform DVD style box design has been very convenient and easier to fit on your shelf, there is still a charm to the wild, non-standardized box designs of yore. So I'm asking if you have any favorite box designs. Maybe you prefer the classics, like a big PC box, or the curious, like the early PS1 tall boxes, or maybe you like the aesthetically cohesive ones, like the Master System grid boxes.
Remember
PC.
remember when Eidos decided that the Tomb Raider games were going to come in trapezoids
Yes,
instead
yes.
of straight rectangles? Like it was right around the time that they were shifting to that uniform DVD size of box, but they were still just like, nope, we're taking the insides in a little bit.
Yes,
Weird.
Yeah,
I mean, that was still kind of the big PC box era, right? Like
it was like end of that
games-
piece, big box into the little box era.
They were still, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the speaking of like the regional differences thing, you guys had like the jewel cases for the PlayStation 1.
Not till later, but yes. Speaking
Did you
of,
have the
I'm trying
fat
to
ones? Like the thick PS1 boxes?
believe
No, we
only
did not
for-
have those weird ass thick ones that y'all got over there. That every time I see a PAL PS1 game, I'm like, why is this? What the?
It's way like 2 or 3 times as thick, and that for the entire run of PlayStation. And we never got the tall ones
for single disc games.
For single disc, yeah. So
Weird.
the Final Fantasy VII box, you probably had a big one, right? Because it was so many discs.
Yeah, it was like 4
Yeah, so
discs.
that was for every PlayStation 1 game in
Weird.
Europe.
That is really
But it wasn't
strange.
quite that big. It was like thicker, but like not full.
Maybe it
double
wasn't the
thick.
whole way. Yeah,
You want-
maybe.
It was.
Yeah.
It was like a
right.
weird between. A lot of Japanese, not a lot, but some Japanese games would come in that format or that size box as well. It's just a bizarre. I don't. In fact, the long box PS1 was specifically because like stores were set up the same way that long box CDs just were sold for music. Was like stores were set up to sell records that were this tall, and so they're like, well, all our shelves are already built to display things this way, so CDs need to come in something that's going to go up this high. And so they built them that way for a while, and PS1 just was kind of following that format for a time.
I had to Google that. I can't
even
believe I
CDs used to come like even if they were in the regular square jewel case, they would have
plastic.
like plastic
handle.
Yeah, like the anti-theft thing was this big extended, so they would stand up above because they were meant for records, and
so you could see them above the shelf. Yeah. God, I completely forgot about these tall box PS1 games. That's such a waste of plastic.
Never saw.
Well, they were like cardboardy kind of. I guess some of them were plastic early on, and then they eventually went shitty cardboard. Yeah.
Yes, the first like year or so was a full on jewel case, but huge.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I have
yes.
I think it's Destruction Derby of an NTSC version. That's one of those tall ones, but it's kind of plasticky.
Yeah, they were all that way early on.
But yeah, they were just like the same material as a jewel case, but just tall. Like Ridge Racer, like all the launch PS1 games here were real plastic. And then eventually, they went to some weird. It was almost like a Sega CD, like the bad Sega CD cases at that point.
Yeah,
Saturn cases are great. They're similar, right? They're like tall.
Yeah, tall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've one copy of Minnesota Fats on the Saturn. Speaking of,
it's the only one you need.
Snooker. Yeah,
right. The CD version of Day of the Tentacle came in that big triangle box. Right, it was really awesome.
Yeah. I'm partial to my straight up metal Quake 3 Arena box that is in my parents' basement somewhere. Still, oh my god, do you have it? Hell yeah!
Yeah,
Still
Yeah.
wrapped.
that's a
Is
good
that
ass
factory
box.
shrink wrapped?
Yeah, I got
That's
it from
like-
Tim Willits.
Wow, shit, man.
When I went to id,
That's a nice
gave me
score.
he opened a drawer and like took one out and gave it to me, and I was like, well, now I'm a shill. So we waited 2 years before we published the interview.
It's great. The thing is legitimately made out of metal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Also, just what the emailer mentioned it, but I fucking love that grid design on the Master System and Genesis games. Like, in fact, I think that it's cool that they just inverted the color scheme for the Genesis from the Master System.
Yeah. But like a lot of the Master System ones were even like less art than a Genesis game. Like Genesis games still had like in the center there is art, whereas like Master System games were like, here's a picture of a wrestler, but he's just kind of standing on the grid. It's not even like a full image.
Go pull up like the box art for Alex Kidd on the Master System. It looks like a doodle that somebody churned out in like 3 minutes on that. It's like this high tech looking grid design with like this awful like 3-color little doodle. It's ridiculous.
Pro wrestling for the Master System is just like a terrible, ugly looking. Like it's perfect.
I do miss the whole like concept of, this is pre, the Unreal Tournament screenshot on the cover of a magazine, right? Where like you couldn't actually have your game be the front of the box. You had to like it works fine for games like Mario where it's a mascot or something. But then there's all those weird edge cases like Elder Scrolls Arena or something where it's just like this painting that's like 7 times removed from the actual game that you're playing, like old Amiga games or Commodore 64 games. It looked like crap, and it's the front of the box had to look incredible.
Like Atari 2600 had famously had a bunch of really like amazing paintings for box art.
There's a coffee table book of Atari box art out there.
Do you remember Psygnosis used to have that artist do like Shadow of the Beast and all of those? They were unbelievable looking. Like just
I would hang the Yar's Revenge cover on my wall if I could get a hold of it.
I'm more of like a Space Invaders or like Defender, I think, or Berserk actually. Berserk. There was like that era of like Commodore 64 and Amiga. It was like magazine ads, but also like sometimes on the back of the box, you would look at the Commodore 64 version, but on the back of the box, they'd be like, "These are Amiga screenshots," like in tiny text.
Wait, on the game box?
Oh, awesome!
Game box.
Dude, that is
but especially
foul.
in magazine ads. But
or the Amiga ones, you'd have the Amiga 600. You'd be buying the Amiga 600 version, but it had the Amiga 1200 screenshots.
Of course, yeah.
Magazine ad is one thing, but on the actual game box, that almost feels like false advertising. I don't know.
I mean, it was across the board, but there was like that era of like, I feel like there were Activision. There were cases for like Atari 2600 games. Like there were situations where you would look at the screenshots and it was like clearly it was something that someone had hand drawn, and it was something really small. So it like you look at it and go like, that's Pitfall, but like there's no visible pixels on Pitfall Harry swinging across this vine. Those are all just straight curves and lines. Like this game doesn't look like that. Just like that, it was a weird situation where it felt like, oh, they don't quite have a regular screenshot ready to go yet. They think it's going to look like this, and they've hand drawn it, or I don't know what the actual story was as to why they did it, but
I bet the timelines for that stuff as well, they probably didn't have like dedicated game box printing company, or maybe they did, but I bet they had to submit art for that stuff way ahead of when they were finishing those games. So they were kind of I remember the Amiga would always have like screenshots of stuff, and you're like, that's not in the game. Like,
like manuals that would come with addendums. This is like, hey, on page 5, it talks about like you're gonna be able to jump. Like,
do you remember the weirdest version of that I ever saw? And it's not on the box, so it's a little bit off topic. But do you remember Battlefield Vietnam used to have a campaign button, and they never made the campaign, but the menu still had it, and it wouldn't do anything. You'd click on it, and it wouldn't do anything. And I think there was like later versions of it. Maybe I got an early edition or something that they changed, but I always remember that. Yeah, because then you'd have to go to like instant action or whatever and make your bot match. But yeah, they had like a campaign button.
Speaking of inadvisable conflicts around which to make a video game story.
Yeah,
sure.
Let's maybe not. You were not kidding about this pro wrestling for the Master System box art. That's really
it's beautiful.
Quite something. Yeah. I can also, like I said, Alex Kidd. Let's see, Wonder Boy is also really something. Just terrible. Also, I had completely forgotten how all these Master System games, right under the game logo, they all say the Mega Cartridge.
Right. Yeah.
As if you need to be
because some
cartridge
games
is
came
mega.
on cards. So some games came on cards. You needed to know, like, do I have the card slot on my Master System or not? Which all of them did at that time, but then later models didn't.
Actually, here's Ghost House, which says the Sega card.
Sega card, yeah.
But I don't know, something about the way, just the font they used and the mega cartridge. It just sounds like a high end bottle of whiskey or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
this is a mega cartridge.
Oh, well, great.
That's how you know it's quality.
This math paper looking box.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, it's great. All right, that's it for emails. That's a good place to stop. Did they really make Castle of Illusion for the Master System?
Yeah, there are a lot of Genesis games, not a lot, but there were some games that got backported to Master System, but because also like the Master System and the Game Gear were very similar, so the Game Gear lasted longer than the Master System did here. So you'd have situations where like maybe a Game Gear version would come out in the States, but not a Master System. But like in Brazil, the Master System had a weirdly long run. So there are like Brazilian versions of games on the Master System. They're just like, why? When did this come out? What the hell's going on? Like it just lived longer there than it did anywhere else, I guess.
Also, apparently, Penguin Land was a Mega Cartridge Plus.
Whoa!
I think that means battery backup.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. That's it for emails. That's it for the show. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, Danny, as always, for being here.
Sorry, my robot voice.
Oh no.
Yeah,
it's always nice to keep it exciting around here. Shake things up a little bit.
Keep you on your toes.
Yes. Yeah. Is noclip.video the best place to find you?
YouTube.com/noclipvideo. Yeah, we got a Bug Snacks. Thanks for my weekly plug. We got a Bug Snacks little 30-minute design doc all about the design of your bungers and your snack pods and your pineantulas.
I will not design my bunger.
If you want to wrangle the bunger,
that's the less.
There's no wrangling
bungers.
Wrangleable.
Yeah. The less said about that, the better. Thank you very much. So anyway, all right. Well, yep, that's it for the show this week. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll have some more streams and fun stuff throughout the week, and then we'll be back with another Giant Bombcast next Tuesday. We'll see you then.